recently I read some studies that the average American income is $71,000, while the average amount of expenses is $85,000. And when you look at the Black community, it looks very, really scary. And so when you look at the Black community, the average income is $46,400. Guess what? The average expense, roughly $60,000. We have a problem, folks. A lot of people out here talking about they're making a lot of money. You look on social media, everybody's got the newest fit, the newest car, the flyest vacation. But it seems like nobody's really telling the truth. There's a lot of people broke out here. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? So last night, I got this idea to talk about this show tonight from my brother Jimmy over at By the Hood. And I was able to convince him. I twisted his arm a little bit to join us tonight. Didn't really twist that much because I did his show last night. But we wanted to talk about this issue and what people can do about it. So make sure you stick to the show and listen to what some of the solutions are to the end. If you love Black wealth, if you love Black community, the Finance Rebel Show is all about that. The whole show, the whole goal of the show is to make wealth Black again. So make sure you tune in, subscribe, like, share it out if you want to help make Black wealth again. All right, got to bring Brother Jimmy on. Mr. Jimmy. Sir.
It's make wealth Black again, not make Black wealth again, right? It's make wealth Black again.
My slogan. How you gonna tell you how to say my slogan?
I mean,
I jacked it up. I jacked it up, but you had to bring it out.
Listen, man. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure. Listen, man. We got to hold each other accountable, right? Did we just talk about that?
And in front of everybody, you had to embarrass me.
It's all.
But listen, this is what brothers do. This is what brotherhood is about.
Also, I do want to say this though, because we trying something new. So we streaming from the By the Hood YouTube channel. We're on By the Hood University. So so for the folks that are there, that came, from us trying something new and sharing it in various places. Shout out to y'all. Make sure you follow the Finance Rebel if you come from By the Hood, and
make sure you follow By the Hood if you come from the Finance Rebel.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Collaboration, man. Teamwork makes the teamwork.
Listen, man, I believe in cooperation. Right? There's no real
cooperation.
I
like that. Never heard that.
Somebody made that up somewhere. I can't take credit for it.
Are you still in bars now?
I ain't stealing. I'm giving attribution, right? I always try to give attribution. I'm not every now and again.
Attribution, but I'm saying somebody did it.
Yeah, somebody did it. I know. I know.
It's all great.
Listen, Jimmy, you brought up this stat last night, right? $71,000 average income across America, $80,000 the average expenses going out last night. You talked about that. And then when we talk about the Black community, I think you said 46,000 is the average income in your typical Black household, and it's 60,000, I want to say, of expenses.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was saying is a lot of times when people are having these conversations, they talk about sometimes they use the average, but the average doesn't tell a better story. The median, when you talk about, at least specifically on the income side, the median tells a better story because
why should anybody care, Jimmy?
All right. Well, here's why, right? So the mean is your average, right? So you have mean, median, and mode. Mode is a number you'll find most frequent when you're looking at a array of numbers. When you look at the average, which most people call the average, which is the mean, is the average of all the numbers. Add all those numbers together, divide by however many numbers it is, right? The median gives a better indicator because the median gets rid of the outliers, right? So when you talk about numbers, if you have several people who are making, $10 million a year, or on the bottom side, people that have no income, that kind of skews that number. But the median gets rid of those outliers. So you really get a middle number. So that gives you a better indication of how people are actually doing.
And so we're doing this in real life, right? So at the top in the Black community, we got our Oprahs, our Jay-Z's, our Frederick Smiths. And then you got little old me. So you get rid of Oprah and Jay-Z and them, and you get rid of me, and you get Jimmy.
Nah, dog. I'm broke, baby. Mitch voice. But the fact of the matter is, the point I was making is better to take a look at that median to get an idea of what's really going on versus just looking at, the average. And when you look at the median income, specifically in our community, and then you look at, whether you look at average, median, whatever it may be, the expenses that people have on a monthly basis, it tells a scary story. And that's how we got into this conversation. I'm like, well, everybody online is acting like they balling out of control, but data shows otherwise. So a lot of times we have conversations online and people want to tell you about how they feel, about what they think. And I'm like, well, what's the data say? Let's look at some.
Nobody wants to talk about the data.
No, they don't, because it tells a whole different story. It tells a whole different story. So whether you're looking at it from an income standpoint, a wealth standpoint, an expense standpoint, we started our conversation last night. And by the way, that episode is available now on our YouTube channel and our podcast platform. We were talking about car notes and car loans. And, you know, what's the old saying that, you know, when everybody else gets hit with the
when America gets a
we get the flu.
Black community gets the flu.
Yeah. So my thing is, I just want people to you don't have to become a data scientist, but just look at the data. Like, take your feelings out of it and look at the data, and let's see what story that's telling.
But I heard, going back to this saying, right? Somebody said to me, America gets a cold, Black people get COVID.
I never heard that one, but
yeah, somebody hit me with that, and I was like,
no, that's
damn, you got something there. You got something there. So
yeah, that's a new one.
All right. So last night we were talking about the cars, how they're being financed, like you just brought up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your average car, your average used car is being financed for 125% over, right? 125% over the sticker price or the selling price. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 125%. So, I mean, the values of cars are depreciating fast right now, and people are caught in these car loans where their car isn't worth what they still own on the loan. It's like 125% of what the car is worth is what they owe on their loan.
And so we talked about this last night. Why would anybody choose to get a car loan and they're paying 125% above sticker price?
I mean, I see it in a lot of things that people finance. What they look at is what they can afford monthly versus looking at the bigger picture. You see it all the times, like, you know, as someone who works in real estate, you see people say, well, I can afford X per month without looking at the overall picture. So if you need a car, you're not thinking about the fact that, I mean, it's the same reason why you see these buy here, pay here places charging like 35% interest and folks still go get cars. I mean,
that's one of the biggest things, right? Never buy based on the payment you can make.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you understand the overall price and the cost of what you're buying, because price and costs are different.
And value.
Yeah, or yes. Or
I figure price, cost, and value, right? They're all three different things.
Absolutely. I'm trying to find that article, but I'm having a hard time finding it.
It came from Bloomberg. I found it on Yahoo Finance. I could find it for you if you want me to,
I got it. I'm on 6 already. But, again, I thought that was interesting, right? Because used cars are going for so much more now after the pandemic and all the supply chain issues we have. Why would anybody do that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, why do you think anybody would do that?
I mean, supply and demand, right? If I need a car and I'm not thinking about the bigger picture, I'm going to go get me a car, And again, this comes from everything else that we're talking about. When you're caught up in the struggle and you're trying to survive day to day, you're not thinking about how much is it going to cost me overall. You're thinking about how to survive day to day. It's about, can I make these payments? And sometimes I can make these payments for a little while. I might not be able to really afford these payments for real.
Exactly. I have a buddy of mine who has a landscape business, and his car is kind of on the mend, and he needed something new. And we were talking about him going to a potential buyer payer because he doesn't have the best credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, you might have to do that. It's just the cost of doing business. So in a situation like that, when you are going to make money and you're using your vehicle as an asset, it can make sense. If you got to get to work, back and forth to work, and it's far out, it might make sense. But if you work 2 blocks from the crib, you might as well walk or take SEPTA or whatever bus agency.
People who use it for Lyft, Uber, or whatever it may be.
But that's a business.
But now, here's the thing, though. I sat down with someone and we worked the numbers, and they realized that they're not really making any money by the time they pay for that specific car, right?
Well, that's a different cost because, I've run the numbers. Most people break even on Uber and Lyft, it's really not worth it, in my opinion, just from
Yeah,
my
so,
daily
yeah, and
analysis.
and I don't know, I don't, I didn't see your analysis, but did you actually even look at depreciation and things of that nature? Like, so
I
do
look at
you really?
depreciation, I look at fuel costs, I looked at wear and
Mhm.
tear on the car.
Okay,
I compared the cost. I compared the minimum wage to the time a person is actually driving, and a lot of times it doesn't make sense.
yeah,
Um, it's a hustle, and again, no shots to our gig workers, right? Because I do think Uber and Lyft can be really good as a way to save money or stash some cash and get a down payment on a home or an investment property or something like that in the short term. But in the long term, it's a losing proposition.
The interesting thing is, like, every once in a while you'll find an article that comes out, and I swear that like Uber or Lyft must be paying for it, where they tell you about a success story of someone who's a driver and what they're able to accomplish. And what's interesting about that is most of the times when you read those, it's because they leverage Uber and Lyft to kind of do something else.
Right,
Like, yeah, there was like one guy who was like selling all kinds of stuff in the back seat of his truck, and he was like, but he made a bunch of money vending basically.
right.
It's always
Or,
something like that. They use it to.
or he had a side hustle. Uber and Lyft was a side hustle, and they just used it to generate some cash. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really great for that. But again, when you factor in the miles, when the miles add up,
But
they
that's
are
the thing
tearing down your car.
And again, in my experience, I'm not going to say everyone, but in my experience, most people do not factor those things. They don't factor depreciation
Mhm.
or wear and tear. They're just looking at what do I have to pay in gas, what's the car costing me, and what's the income coming in.
Got you. All right. So this article here says more Americans are getting auto loans that exceed the worth of their cars. Loans hit 125% of vehicle value in the first quarter, according to TransUnion. The trends may foreshadow higher delinquency studies find. And the other thing I think people need to think about more is that these rates that these financing companies are charging, they know that a certain amount of people are going to be delinquent in their vehicle or their payments.
Absolutely.
They've already got that baked in the cake. So they win no matter what. And it's not like a small margin of profit. I mean, you're talking about astronomical wins here.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the thing, right? The banks find a way to always win, yo.
Facts. The
At
banks are like the
the
house.
end of the day, that's what the banks do. The banks find a way to always come out on top.
The banks are like the house. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to read this here. Used car to loan value ratios increased to 125 in the first 3 months of this year from 104. So meaning just that for every $100 you spent on a car previously, the loan might have been 104, right? So you're spending $4 for the cost of the car as opposed to 25, what you're doing now. So for every $100 you're borrowing, you're paying back 125 now. So that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But remember, and this is just one thing. We start to look at housing, you start to look at food, you start to
Gas.
look at insurance, gas. I mean, I'm just talking about everything over across the board in terms
Yep.
of like what it takes to survive in this country at this point.
So it says here, as vehicle prices have risen and overall inflation remains inflated, consumers are increasingly starting in higher than average LTV, loan to value ratio, positions to afford used cars. And so there's some senior vice president over at TransUnion. And its auto business lead said in a statement. All right, so we got some other stuff there. Given the possibility that accelerated depreciation, what Jimmy just talked about,
Mhm.
will result in negative existing LTVs for longer periods. This will be especially important for lenders. So depreciation just means the value of the car going down over time. So you
Mhm.
have appreciation, the value goes up. You have depreciation, the value goes down. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Interesting. I saw a comment from Tanya there that was interesting because um I'm not a specialist at all when it comes to buying cars because I try to buy as infrequent as possible, right? But I've heard that before that you should never let the dealership run your credit. So I mean, maybe like what's the breakdown in the proper way? What's the best way as a consumer to go about purchasing a car? Because honestly, I just don't know. That's not my forte.
You do know you're a finance guy.
I know about interest rates, right? So I know how about and I know about
Cash
getting the
is
lowest
king.
interest rate as possible. But I'm
We
talking
had that
about is
argument last night. Cash is king, right? So the best way to buy a car is with cash.
No, but I'm talking about the idea that, right, if you have to get financing, like I've heard someone say that before, it says don't let the dealer run your credit. So like,
the best thing to do is to go there with your own financing. So a lot of times people will go with the credit union. Oh, and by the way,
I've done that. So I've done that at PFCU. I've done that where you get the check from them and you walk in. All right, sorry, that's what we're talking about. Okay, I get that. I thought it was a trick that I was missing or something.
Right, but I wanted to say this, and I forgot to say this at the top of the show, but I'm going to say it now. This show is not the show for running the play at all.
No, we're
not trying to get over. Yeah. I mean, By the Hood nor the Finance Road Show is about running the play. Yeah. By the Hood and the Finance Road Show are all about making smart, strategic moves with your money for the long term. We're not, I mean, listen, if you're focused on the long term, you may get lucky in the short term and still get a nice play, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But that's not the goal. That's just getting lucky, right? In the room. But we're not here to run the play, get over on somebody, get you $500,000 in credit.
No.
You start a business that you don't have yet. That's not what it's about. We're talking about real life things, Joe.
Yeah, anti-lottery ticket mentality. Like we're not trying to
anti-lottery ticket.
Get $6 million of funding and you don't have no business. We're not about that. But I was asking because, like, I know that people are kind of specialized in that car space.
They do.
I've actually done that before where I go to the credit union, like PFCU to be specific, and I'm like, yo, I'm getting a car. They give me a check and I go do that. But I thought maybe it was some other stuff. But I did see something else too about shout out to Diamond Dave, man. Diamond Dave is a legend.
I just saw that. Diamond Dave actually should be on this one. I wish we would have had him on this one.
Hey, you had Diamond Dave on before?
No, actually, I don't think I have. I know me and Diamond Dave have done some stuff with Erica. But I love Diamond Dave stuff, though.
You gotta get Diamond Dave on. Let me tell you about Diamond Dave.
You know what? Me and Diamond did do something a long time ago. I think we did do something.
One of the things I love about Diamond Dave is whether I agree with what he's saying or not, Diamond Dave makes me think. And that's like the highest compliment I could pay somebody is because when somebody, like when they have a perspective and they make you actually sit back and think about what they said. So shout out to Diamond Dave who's in the chat.
Uh-oh.
So you trying to go to the soundboard or something, wasn't you?
Yeah, my board not working. Oh, I know what happened.
Man,
I don't know what happened.
Tanya's speaking gospel right now. She said never cosign.
All right, here we go. Let's just say what's up to the people. Tanya Flowers, what's up? Good evening. We got the OG in the building, Don Johnson.
What's really good?
Tanya Flower, we have a big problem. We have a major problem. Eunice, what's up, Eunice? How you doing?
Hey, Eunice.
Still rocks. What's up, baby? I saw you checked out some of the other videos that I dropped today as well. Appreciate you. And my horns aren't working. I don't know why. That's perplexing me.
I don't know, man. I got to get a soundboard.
Okay, I got one.
I think the problem is if I get a soundboard, I'm going to go crazy with it. So it's like.
What you going to do?
I'm going to have all kinds of sounds on there, bro. Like I'm going to go. That's probably why,
Oh, I know what it was. We have a problem. I had it on a different sound.
Are you good now?
I'm good. I'm Gucci. So that's the horn for Diamond Dave right there.
Oh, Don.
That's the horn for Tanya. That's the horn for Don.
Don is out of control, man.
And that's the horn for Eunice. Oh, Northern Bell's in the building. Got to give her a horn too. She's almost here every week. Appreciate you. Jigga, what up, baby? All right, the horns are going off. This is going to be the horn section. All right, living above our means, lack of budgeting.
Man.
Hello.
Yeah.
That's real, right? We'll get into that. Yes, Jimmy is a statistician. So I felt like I was in statistics class back at Temple University when we were breaking that down.
No, appreciate that. No problem at all.
All right, Lawrence is in the building.
Yeah, Lawrence ain't lying either.
All right, the median income stratification is severe. What do you mean by that? Break that down.
So basically, it's kind of what I was talking about in terms of using the actual average versus median. You stratify the numbers, and you actually see what that middle number is. It's a lot more severe than when we talk about the average.
Oh, I think. Hold on. All right, now we get C19. What's C19, Eunice?
COVID-19, man.
We
don't get the flu. We don't get the flu. We get COVID.
Oh, and thank you for putting the abbreviations because the algorithms are definitely working against a brother.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to watch what I say.
All right. So Lawrence says all cards on the table. My new 2023 card note is 900.
Damn, Lawrence, what you pushing out here?
Shout outs to you. Lawrence got a couple dollars. Lawrence, drop your podcast here. We always love to shout out everybody. And Dave, drop your YouTube channel. I don't know if you have a podcast as well, but drop your YouTube channel as well, Dave. We want to make sure. Listen, one of my goals, me and Jimmy going to do this. I'm roping Jimmy in this right now. We are going to produce a top 10 or top 20 Black financial podcast show soon, because y'all see me complain about all the scammers. I'm not going to complain about scammers as much, because a lot of y'all are actually, what's the word I'm looking for here, Jimmy? Complicit. And the scammers taking advantage of you because you're not doing the homework. But what I can do is, I'm not going to complain about it anymore. I can just say, hey, go check out Jimmy. Mm-hmm. Go check out Lawrence. Go check out Diamond Dave. Go check out who else we got.
Erica's dope.
Right. Shout out to Erica, right? Give Erica the horns. Erica, go check them out. So we'll compile a list who we like. Mm-hmm. Right? No diss to nobody. Some of your favorites are not going to make it on the list. Some of your most popular are not going to make it on the list. At least not my list. I can't speak for Jimmy.
No. I mean, we have conversations all the time, and I tell you about the listen. First of all, I love Black content creators, and that's on every space. That's whether I'm on TikTok, YouTube, because we have some very, very smart and creative folks out there.
Brilliant.
And I think it is important to highlight those, right?
Absolutely.
It's all, and to me, it's not about popularity. It's about people that are putting out real solid information. Like I said about Diamond, they teach people how to think, how to look at data, how not to just quote unquote run the play. You know what I mean? Like it's not about that all the time, because we talk about building something.
Running the play ain't gonna last for so long. You're gonna run out of gas real quick.
Man, listen.
All right. Facebook user says, hey guys, hey Facebook user, do me a favor, go on and hit the StreamYard link so I can see your name and approach you and speak to you properly. All right, Star Rock says it's all about the payments, not the total cost.
That's what they're looking at. Yeah, he's saying that's what they're looking at.
Right. I was about to say no, it's not, but yeah, correct.
That's Rachel.
All right, Lawrence says the average age of a passenger vehicle on U.S. roads has reached 12.5 years, according to the research from S&P Global Mobility. People are ready to buy. Yeah, but I think these vehicles are lasting longer. I wouldn't be surprised if it got to 15. And when we start talking about averages, right, in these vehicles, we got 1 year or 0 months.
Bro,
I got some 30-year-old cars out there too.
I was at the Toyota dealership earlier this week, getting service on my car. But and I'm gonna tell you specifically, I saw people pull up with these.
Wait a minute. Are you saying your Toyota as in like the Lexus Toyota?
Come on, man. No, listen, man. I tell you, I keep it very, very honest, man. I do have my vice. My vice is I like first class travel and I like gadgets. Other than that, I don't spend too much money, man. So cars is not my thing.
But you so bougie with your travel. Like he be sending us pictures talking about so bougie.
Listen, I love that's my thing though. That's my thing, right? I'll be honest with you. I'm not a dude that's going to like break the bank on clothes or cars, but when I fly, I like to fly first class. That's my thing. That's just, everybody got their thing, whether you want to admit it or not. What's your thing, Kamar?
Working. That's what it feels like these days.
I'm talking about something that you spend money on and you're like, I'm just gonna spend money on.
I spend money on working, right?
All right, so you can invest back into your business then.
My thing is, I guess, broadcasting, right? I love broadcasting, right? Mm-hmm. I'm trying to decide now if I should put more energy into the podcast, the audio side of things, or the YouTube and the video side of things, because my numbers suck across the board, but I know my impact is higher than my numbers. So
but that's what it's really about, though. Is it really about that? Because listen, you don't want to get into people that's out here faking numbers too, because that's a thing too.
Well, here, listen, I've been doing this too long to really care about faking numbers.
Listen,
right?
Sometimes it's not even your fault. I swear, I tell Corey all the time. I say, I look at some of our following and some of our like spots online. Most of them be bots anyway, man. That's why.
My Instagram is probably all bots.
Yo, my Instagram got to be at least half bots. Like our bot page got to be at least half bots. So they be going wild. So you can't really focus on that anyway. But impact is really where the value lies anyway.
But it's hard to judge impact without the numbers a lot of times. It's just like money. Money is a great tool for judging how good of a job you're doing. No, it's not everything. No, it might not necessarily make you happy, but it can smooth the road over.
There has to be other metrics, right? So our numbers, like our highest numbers, I'll be very transparent on here. Our highest numbers are through our audio podcast. Our YouTube doesn't do too many crazy numbers. Our Instagram is probably our biggest following in terms of social. But I know that we're making an impact when I'm outside and people say things. And also the inboxes and messages I get.
Facts.
I don't even post them all. Like the inboxes and messages I get. So to me, I don't even care about the numbers, right? I'm not chasing numbers, but I do like to share information and build with folks.
No, I'm the same way. But I do always wonder, well, what if I just want to leave my job? My business, which is my job.
Okay.
Could I do this? I probably like this more than my business. Could I do this? I don't know.
Would you still keep a small amount of clients? Like, could I still come to you for tax advice? Like,
if you listen to me and I ain't gotta cuss you out every day. But all right, let's keep speaking to the folks. We gotta talk to the people. But I lost my place. Dang it. Oh, here we go. Mr. Anthony, about that wallet. Listen, y'all follow Anthony on his YouTubes as well.
We'll do that right now. About that wallet.
About that wallet, another great content creator right there.
Let's get it.
All right, Facebook user says we got to work smarter, not harder. Facts. Got to give you the horns for that mid-sentence. People are hustling backwards when you look at the numbers. That's what we always say.
Yeah.
Right? All right, the average car payment is $750 and above. So clearly Lawrence is clearly paying way above that.
Yeah, Lawrence out here push something crazy right now. What Lawrence? What kind of, what you
Lawrence got some cheddar. That's all that is. Listen, salute to him.
Just subscribe to About That Wallet. You got a new sub About That Wallet. I gotta check out your content later.
So everybody subscribe to About That Wallet. We got about 20, 30 people here now. Everybody go to subscribe to About That Wallet. Lawrence, make sure you get us our numbers. Also, Dave, give us your numbers as well. Your tag, your ads, by the way. Okay. Northern Bell says true. I drive for Uber and Lyft. You definitely have to know when and where to drive. Facts. Because if you don't get good tips, you don't make good money. That's a fact.
Man.
That's a fact.
Make sure you tip your Uber driver, y'all.
All right, Kayla. Hey, Kayla. Welcome. Do we have to be bank now? To be a bank now? Do we have to be a bank now?
Well, that was based on a comment I was saying that where I was saying that the banks always find a way to win. Now, my response to that is, I think it's important to understand how banks work and to kind of think like a bank. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go buy the structure and set up the entity. But, when I talk about thinking like a bank, I'm talking about taking money in at one rate and making money with your money, right? I mean, at its root, that's what banks do. But I think that it's important to understand how banks work and to think that way, but not necessarily because I don't want you to get caught up in the whole thing online where people are going to tell you to buy, a bunch of insurance you don't need to become your own bank. Like, that's not what I'm saying, right? But to understand, to use money to make more money.
So, but I mean, at its basic root, the basic principle, yeah, we should be looking to become our own bank to a certain degree. Like Jimmy said, forget all the other stuff that's being promoted online, but just being a bank in terms of being self-sufficient. And so whether that's getting your credit up, getting your savings up, getting your investments up, because at the end of the day, you have to make sure you look out for you.
Yeah. All
right. So Tanya Flower says the other problem is the way we buy cars. Never let the dealership run your credit. Yeah, I've heard that a lot of times. All right. And Dave just came in with a jewel. Get your financing from the bank first or credit union, wherever you're at. You got to get pre-approved before going to the dealership. Don't let them run the credit. Yeah. All right. The audience is on it. All right. Also, don't let
the lot pick your car.
Sorry, y'all. Sometimes I get really linear and literal when I read these. Coming in knowing your car you want is your price. Right. I know a lot of dealers will say you should know the car you want when you step on the lot. Meaning, you should have already been in other lots shopping before you go make your final decision. And I've heard some other car experts say you should shop for the car, go to other places and test drive the car, and then call the dealer up and ask them to make you a deal over the phone, pitch you over the phone.
Never heard that one.
Because you already know what you want. You should already know the specs you want, the loaded, unloaded, whatever you want, power windows, non-power windows.
I mean, especially now where you can go with access to information online, it's probably a lot easier than it was in the past to do what you're talking about.
And I think everybody should have power windows, right? That's probably standard. That's not the loaded package anymore, right?
I was about to say, they make cars without power windows. Come on, man. Everything. I mean,
listen, man.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like,
I'm showing my age. You talking
about the old roll windows? Yeah.
All right, Ann Johnson, what's up, brother? Welcome. Buy used until you can cash out of a car, and if you don't have enough money, up your skills in order to bring more money in.
There you go.
Got to give you the double on. Yeah. So I know Jimmy and myself both talk about increasing skills. And yeah, right. I would agree with that. Buy used. I might buy a brand new car one day just for the thrill of it, but I don't know if I can ever justify it unless
what I did, to be honest with you, I leased it though. I leased a newer car.
Right. And you know what? For my wife's car, which is now paid off, I am car note free right now, y'all. Pray for me. Hopefully I can stay that way. For my wife's car, we did buy a brand new though, because they were giving so many rebates that it was cheaper to buy the car brand new than to buy used. But so if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have brought it brand new.
But again, it's about running the numbers and knowing the numbers.
Right. All right. About that, Wallace says, I let the dealership run my credit. They were able to find a lower rate at a bank I'm already with. So they got a rate lower than the one you're already with?
So he was saying that, I think he said before that he went to the credit union, but when the dealership ran it, they got a better rate.
Okay, so I'm guessing maybe he said, I don't let the credit union run my credit, or the dealership run my credit. Maybe.
No. He said a previous statement where he said that he tried the idea of going to the credit union first.
Okay.
So what happened was when he actually let the dealership run his credit, they found a better rate than he got going to his credit union before he went to the dealer.
But he said he banks with them already. So, okay, that's crazy to me, but not what you did. It's talking about the situation overall. Because your institution should be riding for you at all times. All right, Eunice says, I'm trying to learn because my husband and I may buy another car for our business. Okay.
Right. All
right. Dave says, don't pay dealer fees either. Dave, you been out here selling cars, man? You got all the dope and never co-sign.
That comment right there could be his own show, Kamari.
What's that?
I said that comment right there could be his own show, co-signing.
Never co-sign. Yeah, it could be.
I've seen so many family members really fall out over that.
All right, keep it moving. Says, welcome. Keeping it moving. What about Uber Black?
I've heard horror stories about that online. I don't have any personal experience with it, but I think that's when Uber lets you finance through them. But I did read some stuff.
Uber Black is the bigger cars, right?
Yeah, that's the bigger car. We get the black car service. But I'm saying, don't they have a thing with Uber too where you can finance a car through them? Doesn't have to be
I believe so, but I don't know.
It has to be Uber. I'm not sure, but I think they have something where you can get the black car from them so you can ride Uber Black. But
So I would imagine that it's probably the same. Listen, and again, there's no diss to Uber and Lyft. One thing I would say, if you're really serious about it, use Uber and Lyft as a lead source to get your own clientele. And this might not be per the terms of conditions that they go by, but get those clients, build relationships with them, and then build your own service, personal service with them, as opposed to going through Uber and Lyft and all the other shenanigans you got to go through with them. All right, so Northern Bell says, we want to get back to the conversation in a minute, y'all. We just wanted to make sure we acknowledge y'all. Yeah, I got a better price when I came with my own financing from the credit union. In fact, I don't believe in absolutes, but that's probably the one absolute that rings true. You tend to get better financing when you get it on your own from a credit union, usually.
No doubt, Dave. All love.
All right, Lawrence says it's similar to work on your credit. Reach out to your credit union and get the auto pre-approval. The dealership is trying to make more money. Facts. Shout out to Don. Just got $3 million in business credit for my LLC selling water on Broad Street. Don's a whole fool for that one. Listen, I'm with you, Don. I'm with you. That's sarcasm for everybody listening to the podcast. Everybody that's trying to figure out why we laughing so hard. Don's being facetious. Hey, Don, by the way, every chance I get, brother, I'm pulling you on the stage, man.
Listen, Don be going on. Don was live the other day talking about the DMV going crazy.
I saw him. He talked about his big credit card. He must have plenty. I mean, his big wallet. He don't like the little wallet no more.
Shout out to Don, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm talking about. That's the comment right there.
All right, I used my credit union, and they had me at a higher rate than the big bank. Yes, that happens often. Absolutely. Maddox 12s. Hello, team. Let's get the likes up. Thank you, Maddox. All right, y'all. Remember to like, comment, and share. I'm out here fighting the algorithms. Basically, the man. So help me win against the man.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, y'all go follow Diamond Dave. His YouTube is Diamond Dave 1. Again, Diamond Dave 1. Okay. All right. So what we got here? What y'all thoughts on Dave Ramsey theory? All right, listen, I'm going to save this for later. This is Wealthy Wednesdays. The Wednesday show is Wealthy Wednesday when we answer questions. So we're going to come back to that towards the end of the podcast. All right, so finance. Facebook user is requesting top 20 Black financial podcasts. We can do that. We definitely can do that. Y'all know the Blue Hearts, me and Rachel Hannibal said, what's up, Rachel? Why you ain't on it, y'all mean? Why you ain't giving the thing your name?
Yeah, shout out to Rachel.
Shout out to Rachel. Rachel's a friend of the show.
And Rachel, I got your email today, and I'll definitely be back in touch tomorrow because we're gonna find a way to make this work, Rachel. I promise you that. So I'm gonna hit you up tomorrow, but I got your email.
I don't know what y'all talking about, but I'm here out, and I'm being newsy, and I want in. So whatever Jimmy and Rachel's involved in, I want to be in.
Listen, man, we talking about doing community work.
Okay, let's have it. Oops. Started the thing before I put it on the screen. All right, John Johnson said, but just because you like them doesn't mean you don't do your own. Jimmy, read that for me.
But just because you like them doesn't mean you don't do your own research.
So what Don is saying here is that just because you like somebody, you can like me, you can like Jimmy. I don't give a shit what me or Jimmy say. Y'all go do your own fucking research.
Yeah.
Like that, because I want you to feel the passion that I have about it. Everybody should do their own research.
Man, by Conti, that's a clip right there. You got Kamari cussing at people.
Well, you know, I'm not above that.
Hey, James, from your lips to God's ears, man. I appreciate that.
All right, what about me, James? Can I get some love?
Not you have it, bro.
Nah, I'm playing. Y'all should have 500,000 subs, if not more. Keep it moving says Jimmy got a jet. He ran a play. Facts. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. I'm Team Toyota. All right.
Let's get it. Oh, the point I was making though, Kamari, people were pulling in with like I don't have one. I got a Venza, but people were pulling in with these Camrys, dog. 30, 40 years old, just getting like oil changes. I'm like, yo, I don't know what it is about these Camrys, but these folks was pulling in with like they were lasting forever. So that's interesting to see that the average, I think you said, it's 12 and a half years is the average amount of time.
Yeah, he said 12 and a half, yep.
Yeah, but I saw some of them Toyotas pulling, folks getting work on it. I'm like, yo, 30, 40-year-old cars, man, like old joints.
Well, listen, my dad has had a Toyota. He had a Volkswagen, and then he had a Toyota Sons.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other in-betweens, but it's been constant. Toyota. Nothing else.
No, that's me down too. Like once I and I've had everything, a BMW, Mercedes. Like I went through that phase. But
pop your collar.
No, not like that. But what I'm saying is, once I got a Toyota, even though I've had like German cars, the Toyota is just runs like.
I mean, the maintenance is pretty low. I mean, back in the day, you could do a lot of the things yourself. Now, it's a little bit different, but they still are quality made cars.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see. Okay, can a Toyota Camry last 500,000 miles? I just pulled that up. Just put that up here just so y'all can see it's not cap. So y'all can share and see it. I can share and see it. Can a Toyota Camry last 500,000 miles? So
average lifespan.
Right. So question. How many of y'all would drive a car for 500,000 miles? Put that in the chat. Hit yes or no, you would. Can a Toyota Camry last 500,000 miles? Toyotas have an average lifespan of 200,000 to 250,000 miles. If you make sure to keep your car with proper care and maintenance, Toyotas can be driven over 500,000 miles.
That's insane. Don't forget that second part, though. Proper care and maintenance. We got to make sure we don't forget that part.
Yeah, that's imperative. That's imperative. So, I mean, listen, you get what you pay for. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to go get a Toyota. For the record, Toyota is not sponsoring this broadcast. We don't have any sponsors. I'm the only sponsor here. So don't worry about that. All right. So, I mean, Lawrence, all right, y'all. Lawrence, I looked at the numbers. They're cheaper overall, lower than what I got from my main bank. So my price per month is $450 for a 2018. I'd be interested to know what were the other numbers. How much did you save?
Yeah.
All right. Give me. All right, Rachel must have hit the button because I can see her now. All right, 2023 Toyota RAV4. You paying $900 a month for a RAV4?
The new RAV4s, all right, though. They got a little bit bigger.
Really?
They did. They like the 2023s. They're a lot better. They got like a little bit bigger.
Okay, I'm out of the market. Like I said, we ain't got no car notes right now.
I don't even know that. Listen, I know that because I was sitting in the dealer waiting for my car. I'm like, around. I'm like, I thought it was a Highlander. They was like, no, it's a RAV4. I was like, so when did RAV4 get that big?
All right, so 2013 Toyota RAV4 Prime XLE. So you know that's top of the line, fully loaded with the leather, the bucket seats. You know it's fly.
Yeah, that's not the TLC RAV4. This a new RAV4.
The 2019 Nissan Versa almost died. It's holding on by a thread. Listen, I got a 2009. I ain't getting rid of it. Damn, I don't ever tip. Come on, man. Got to tip. Tip your people if they give good service. All right. Eunice says, I am more of a visual person, but I can learn multiple waves. YouTube's for me. Okay.
So make sure you stay on YouTube.
All right. So that means I got to stay on YouTube. I got it. I'll take instruction well. I appreciate you, find it. I'm boggling my words tonight, y'all. I appreciate you, the Finance Rebel. Thank you for everyone who's subscribed. All right. Congrats on your daughter's graduation. Oh.
Yeah, man. That was dope. That was dope. Love to see it.
Yes. So baby girl just graduated. I told y'all last week before last, that she was going to graduate. So I missed last week, but I made it up. I did the next day. I did Thursday. So listen, I might not always be here on time. I might not be here when you call, but I always show up. So. All right. Starlight Bright. Welcome. What are your views for HSAs? Health savings account. All right, I'm going to start at, so I'm going to get that towards the end of the broadcast. All right, I got to speed up on these so we can get back to it, or else we're going to be here all night, and y'all know I need my vittles. All right, wow, I remember having to mainly roll down the windows. Yeah, I'm not the only one. The only one.
You know, I do too. I ain't going to lie.
Would you buy or lease? Okay, I'm going to start that for later on. Come on, I bank at multiple banks. I just didn't check them all before I went to the dealership. All right, so next time you go buy something, check all them jokers and make them all compete too. Let them know that y'all in a competition.
Cleaning fees.
I talked to them about lowering their fees, like cleaning fees. All right, Eunice says, my husband and I, we lease a Volkswagen, but we're going to buy it out. It's an amazing car. Volkswagens last forever. Those are good vehicles too. Mm-hmm. I remember back in the day they used to have some issues, but they're good now. I wanted to show y'all the car I want to get, but I'll do that another day. Rachel's in the building now. We can see the name.
No, Rachel got that 850.
Yeah, she be out here floating it too.
Yeah, she do.
She
Yeah,
be
she
out here
do.
floating it. I got
Actually, sure.
and it's not 850. She got 850.
My bad.
She got that 850.
Yeah, she got 850.
Right. All right. People ask me to co-sign all the time because of my perfect credit score.
I can imagine her when she's like shows her inbox probably go crazy.
I mean, it is a thing to do I even want to say this? It is a thing where people charge people to be made authorized users on people's credit cards.
All right, man. No run the plays out here, man.
Like, no run to play, but I'm saying that's what's going on out here. All right, that's exactly what I did. I just used Uber as a lead source. Yeah. One day I'll tell y'all about my adventures of doing Uber and Lyft.
Oh, gotta hear these stories.
Yeah. Listen, man, I've been through some things, man. It ain't been all peaches and roses. Aruna says the good thing about leasing, you don't pay for car repairs. We haven't even paid for oil changes. But every lease package is different. A lot of them do have maintenance on them, but not all of them. I've seen sometimes it didn't happen. JT Coins.
JT was good.
How you been, brother? I need to get some coins from you. Shout out to JT Coins. Matter of fact, everybody go follow JT Coins also. JT makes coins, literally, or makes rings and jewelry out of coins. Like all kinds of stuff, and it's super dope. JT, I still need to get you on the show. I know we've been missing each other, but I promise I will make my schedule around you, brother.
Listen, I gotta get JT on too, you know.
Well, that might be another crossover episode.
I love
that. Yeah. All right. I already subscribed to Diamond Dave. All right. One subscriber up from Diamond Dave. Listen, all of y'all that followed Anthony should be following Diamond Dave as well. It's all about sharing the wealth here, y'all. All right, about that bottle says, don't forget we're going live tomorrow to talk about life insurance and taxes. Yes, we are going to live tomorrow. It's going to be a battle royale because Lawrence is going to be in the building. And so Anthony wants me and Lawrence to debate about when there's good uses of life insurance and when they're not uses of life insurance. So it'll be fun. Anthony, what time is that going to be? I believe it's 9 p.m.
All right. Hey, you already know it's love.
Rachel was to go, listen, this is how much pull Don Johnson has, right? Don Johnson says to me, Kamara, you haven't had Rachel Hannibal on. She's in your city. Why haven't you had her on? And said it like with a whole lot of gruff and a whole lot of that black aggression we had. And I was like, all right, Don, I'll have her on. Relax, big guy. And I had her on and she rocked the show. That episode was a great episode with Rachel. Listen, we had a great time.
She's the real deal.
All right. Anthony says I should have 25 likes by now. I can't see what my like count is on YouTube. Somebody check it for me, please. K Diggy. Welcome. If you have a car trade, go to CarMax first. I've been hearing that. I've had long runs with Mitsubishis. Okay. Is Mitsubishi Japanese or Korean? I think it's Japanese, right?
I don't even know.
Okay. All right. Highlander and Prius here. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Team Toyota.
Team them Priuses, them hybrids back in the day. Getting good gas mileage. Now listen, good gas mileage, that's the new sexy. Yeah. I need to make a t-shirt that says that. All right. So by the hood, would you rent to a person who owns a Toyota or a Kia?
I mean, I don't know what. All right. So first off, some of my tenants have better cars than I have. Right. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, I mean, there's so many variables that go into renting to somebody. I don't know that will be a decision whether they have a Toyota or a Kia. Be more about their income, their rental history, criminal background, credit score. There's so many other things that will come into play before I get to what kind of car they have. The thing about it is, Kia's in Philadelphia. The cops actually came out and told people
it's not Philly, it's nationwide.
Nationwide, but I saw it in the Philadelphia news where the Philadelphia police were like, they're telling people, I was never seen nothing like that. Like, you don't buy a Kia. Like, it was a Kia and something else. What was the other?
They're still them.
It was a Kia and something else, and they said it was too easy to steal. A Kia and something
And
else.
it's Hyundai.
That's it. Kia and Hyundai. Yep.
Yep. Maddox says my Kung Fu Master Subaru with 480,000 on it. Yeah,
Ooh.
that's another one. 500K, I drive it. It's legendary. Yep.
Well, that's crazy.
All right, so Kayla says I will. I traded my 2000 Camry at 230,000 miles.
People
Nice.
be having them, people be having
Nice.
them Camrys forever. Them Camrys do it. Okay, they can technician. That's dope.
Shout out to K Diggy. We need more mechanics and technicians.
Absolutely.
If it's a Toyota, yes. Okay. All right, so Anthony came back and let us know what the difference was. So he says, for my main bank, they were charging me $565 for 2018, and I believe the other fee was $450 or $480.
$480, I think it was around there. So
that's a big difference.
It is.
I'm guessing it's a 5-year loan.
You can put that in the index fund over 20. No, let me shut up.
No, why? I agree with that.
I'm just being funny. Yeah,
but it's real.
It is real.
Kayla says, how do we get people to see the importance of investing and thinking long term versus being a spendthrift? Tell them to watch the show. Tell them to watch Bottom Hood. Talk to them. Buy them books. Encourage. You know, one thing, y'all. Something I'm trying to encourage some of my friends to do. I feel that a lot of my friends, we really don't have a lot of meaningful conversations. And what I mean by meaningful is like long-term things. Like we talk about stuff, don't get me wrong. You don't, in my crew, I'm called the stiff neck because I want to talk about the serious things all the time, right? I want to talk about the politics because politics matter. Politics is money for all of y'all who don't believe that. I want to talk about the money. I want to talk about jobs. I want to talk about skills. I want to talk about the family. And we all want to talk about that, but I lean towards that a little bit more. Some of my friends want to talk more about the sports, which is cool. I have no problem with it. No judgment. But I find if it's not sports, if it's not cars, to use my language, if it's not hoes, male or female, a lot of times people don't really want to gravitate towards the more important things in life. And I think we have to make time for those. I think in the climate now, we have to be intentional about making more time about those.
I want to talk about ratchet TV shows. But what I will say is this, though, Kamari.
Shout out to Jaquavius.
And we did. Yo, Jaquavius is a legendary writer. That's not ratchet. But that's neither here nor there. But the thing about it is, though, Kayla, to your question, sometimes it's difficult because having those kind of conversations, sometimes people don't want to talk about their money. And
they're ashamed.
That too, but also like some people were raised like I wasn't raised in a household. My mom just talked about finances or whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't know how we were doing. I didn't know what kind of where we stood in terms of finance. I didn't know. That it wasn't my business. I was in the child's place, for lack of a better term.
Yep.
Or that's what she told me. But so in our community, a lot of times that's something we don't talk about. Like, how many people do you actually have a conversation about like income, job? Like, people don't talk about those things. How much debt people have, you just don't have those conversations. So you have to kind of like normalize having those conversations. It's difficult and it'll take time, but I mean, you have to explain what the value is in having those conversations.
Make talking about money cool.
Yeah. Make wealth black again.
Absolutely. Because that's where it started. All right. We about to get to it, y'all. We about to get to it. All right, what's up to you? I want to the Facebook users, do me a favor, go hit the StreamYard link so we can get to see your name and give them permission to talk to us. Thank you. All right, Don Johnson says the fact that Uber and Lyft is a need in our society is an example of how bad we're doing as a society. I don't know about that. But I get you, Don, but there's also some benefits to Uber and Lyft, right? DUIs are down drastically. Deaths from DUIs are down drastically. Like, that's a real thing. Now, we can talk about people shouldn't drink and drive either, but they do, and they are. So we got to figure out something else out. All right, and so Anthony says we will be on his show tomorrow, 9 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, talking about life insurance and taxes. And actually, it's not just really life insurance and taxes. It's about how to make the best financial plays as possible, because there's some people that are pro life insurance, some people are anti life insurance. Me, I am for the best tool for the strategy that you need to be successful. All right, Eunice says, yes, I'm here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and there's something called, yup, the Kia Boys. Yes, and they steal them. It's crazy, crazy. All right, Jigga1017 says, I got an 89 Corolla with 289,000 miles that I paid 500,000 for back in 2015. Love my scooter bug. Shout outs to you. Listen, the ROI, this we're gonna talk money, right? The ROI on that purchase,
that's crazy,
is infinite.
$500.
$500.
That's Kamari spend that going out for a meal.
Only when I'm taking Jimmy out.
Nah. We're gonna blame that on Tracy.
Nah, Tracy too. All right, Rich, what's up, Richard?
Rich, what's up, brother?
Welcome. Yes, make wealth black again. Yes, indeed. T-shirts coming soon. All right, so let's get back to this, y'all. So we're talking about the financial struggle, how to survive the financial struggle that Black America is facing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was funny. Jimmy brought that up on his podcast last night, By the Hood. Make sure you go follow By the Hood, YouTube, the podcast, everything. And then I saw this today, and I was like, y'all ever think about, like, you say something and then the phone just pops out something? Well, literally, this article came out today, and the article was, an average American income may longer cut it.
May no longer cut it, yeah.
Yeah, may longer cut it. Me and Jimmy just had that conversation
we did
last night. And it was like, well, damn, somebody was listening to my phone. And then they go here and they say an average American income isn't enough for comfortable living in 2023, according to major reports. Right, the typical U.S. family earns $71,000 per year, according to the census. Y'all know the census, right? That thing the government puts out to track how many people live here and how much money they make. All right, and then yet, the average American believes a family needs at least $85,000 annual household income to get by, according to a recent Gallup poll. I mean, that's a big difference, right? 71,000 versus 80,000.
Yeah, I I'm not sure whether you're going to show this video or not, but I wanted to show you some other data that I was looking at.
All right, give it to me.
All right, pause, but let me get that for you real fast.
You're not playing the ball game no more.
Listen, man, I can't help it.
You can, man.
I don't even like
Dame
know.
Dash is ruining your life. Dame Dash lives rent free in your mind.
Nah, I don't even know if it's Dame.
It's documented. It's the Rockefeller team, Dame and Dipset.
Well, that's because I was saying something else before pause, when I've found a way to stop saying that. That's more problematic. But that's neither here nor there, man. Let's talk about this data real fast, though, man. Let me add. I just shared my screen. Add it to the stream.
There we go.
All right, so
load it up a little bit.
Yeah, you may want to take the comment down real fast. I can't even help it. Like I just it is what it is. So this comes from the census as well, and this goes to 2020. I have looked at more current data, but this is the median household income. So they talked about 71,000, but when you look at the median income and then you break it down by race, right? First of all, Asians are kicking everybody's ass, but we're at the very bottom. Our median income as of 2020 was 45,870. Right now, I think it's like little above 46. So it's only went up $1,000 over the last couple of years. But now, the interesting thing about that is, right? So let's do some quick math. If you're talking about, let's say I round this up to make the math easier, say 46,000, right? So if our median income is 46,000, and we're talking about monthly. So monthly, that's about $3,833, right? So, and again, this is data that comes from the census. You can look this up. This is real life data based upon race. So we're talking about having on a monthly basis, our median income of Black family is $3,833. Now, what's tough about that is this. When you look at, and let me share this real fast, Kamari, as well. when you look at how much it costs to run a house in this country, right? $5,111. And this is how it's broken down. And this is a study that was done by Lending Tree in conjunction with Value Penguin.
Jimmy, blow that up, son.
All right, let me see if I can do that. All right, you have that on. You got it on the whole screen. I don't think it doesn't give me the ability to do that. It's not a PDF. This is actually a link from the website. Let's see.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So if you look at the biggest expense is housing, which is about $1,050, transportation, car note, whatever that may be, taxes, utilities, food. So if you look at everything all together, it's averaging about a little above $5,111, right? So let's do some math. Let me do some math real fast, Kamari. $5,111. And I do have my calculator out. 3,833. So that means that across the nation, a Black family is starting off their month in the whole $1,278. That's a problem. That's an absolute problem. So, Don, that's the reason why you have people that have full-time jobs that end up, going to drive Uber or Lyft. You're starting off your month in the hole. And a lot of times we like to talk about how things compound on a positive side. And, my brother Corey always talks about this. He said compound works both ways.
That's a fact.
You can compound, on the other side. Compounding works both ways. So if you talk about starting off your month 1,200 in a hole, we got a problem, man. We got a problem. So you see people talking about I'm gonna drive Uber or Lyft, I'm gonna get a second job. And the thing about people with second jobs, I've seen people always try to get themselves out of a hole by having a second job, and it never seems to work, in my experience. Right?
No, I'll co-sign that.
It's like, you get a second job. It's like, you just as broke as you was when you had one job. I mean, so this is, not saying this to be depressing or in the dumps, but this is the numbers. This isn't my opinion. It's from the Census Bureau, Lending Tree study. So I'm giving you the sources so you can go look it up. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up. But also, if you look at like minimum wage, right? Minimum wage, I know in Philadelphia hasn't changed since like 08, 09, something crazy like that. It's been over a decade.
What's minimum wage now? $7.75, I think, right?
Yeah, you can't raise them. $7.75. You know how much stuff costs? Not you, but I'm just saying in general. Like things cost money these days. $7.75. What you gonna do with that? So you can
get a 40 and a couple of Lucy's.
So the reason I'm sharing this is because I think a lot of times we spend, like, it's funny. I was having this conversation with someone about online is kind of like where we spend our time. You know what I mean? So when you get a perspective of what's going on in the world, it's not like it used to be where you go, to the town center or whatever. The town center is now Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right? If you spend your time on there, you don't see these numbers. Everybody got you thinking that they're doing well. Everybody's doing amazing in life. No one shares the horror stories. But the fact is, the data shows something different. This is what the income is, and this is what the expenses are. So just keep that in mind, right? And also, you give yourself some grace too, because comparison is the thief of joy, right? So I see a lot of times because people are watching people online, and they may be making 75, 80,000. They're not think they're doing enough. But when you look at the numbers, you're doing better than most, right? I've had that where I want to make this, I want to make that. And I'm like, well, where are you, right? Not that you shouldn't be striving to always do more, but understand where you are. And when you look at the numbers, always look at the numbers. So be data-driven when you go to make your decisions. Don't just move on emotions or whatever. Look at the actual data. And the data shows that specifically our community, we're not doing well right now out here. And things are seemingly getting worse as you look at the cost of living is getting higher. So that $5,000 number, you look at that in a couple of years, it's probably going to be $6,000, $7,000, $7,500, but the income is not going up as fast. And Kamari, I don't know if you ever looked at the wealth numbers. Those are more disturbing than the actual income numbers.
They're very disturbing. Do we have them? Because you were talking about them from Pew. I mean, listen, part of the issue with the wealth numbers, though, is that everybody's study is different. I know the last time I looked, your average white family had $144,000 in wealth versus $11,000 for the Black family.
What's interesting? What's interesting is Wells Fargo did a study recently, and it was coming post-pandemic. And the Wells Fargo study talked about, like, within the pandemic years, how Black net worth went up faster on a percentage than everybody else, but it still was so far behind. But then what happens is as we move into like 2022 and 2023, it actually dropped faster. And one of the reasons that the study pointed to, matter of fact, let me see if I can find it for you. I think I do have it.
Is that Wells Fargo? No, let me see.
Yeah, I can have it. I do have it. One of the things they pointed to was how our money is allocated in terms of where we invest our money, right? And here it
Can I
is.
say this though? I find it really interesting that Wells Fargo is doing a study about black wealth when they had all their scandals,
Wells
right?
Fargo was an interesting case
All
study.
the what is it? I'm looking at this study right now, right? This article right here, and I forgot about this, and this just happened, right? This just happened. Wells Fargo rejects half its black applicants at mortgage refinancing. Boom. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Did I lose you, Jimmy? How crazy is that? Wells Fargo rejects half its black applicants in mortgage refinancing. Boom. So the fact that that happened to me is crazy. I might have kicked Jimmy off by accident. I might have hit the wrong button. Let's see. Where'd it go? But again, I think that's super duper crazy that Wells Fargo is now producing black wealth studies. There we go. Did I kick you off, Jimmy?
Yeah, you definitely kicked me
I'm
out.
sorry. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button.
You definitely ejected me. You ejected me from the whole show. I'm like,
But listen, I brought you right back.
You like Jazzy Jeff and whatnot. But listen though, to the Wells Fargo thing you were saying, I find that funny because like Wells Fargo, I swear I get like a check a couple times a year because they're getting sued for something. I had an account there. So they're an interesting case study as a business because they get sued left and right, and it doesn't seemingly affect their numbers. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, they were literally just making up accounts for folks.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo was out of control.
And that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing I wanted to show you, Kamari, which I found interesting. Was it was
listen, go slow. I'm having like a senior citizen moment. I don't want to kick you out.
Yeah, don't kick me out, but just if you can, if you can share that right there, right? So this is what I found interesting, and based on this Wells Fargo study.
So wait a minute, is that Wells Fargo or is that CNBC?
Well, this is the article is on CNBC, but it's a Federal Reserve Board in conjunction with the study. But what the study found was, it's based upon our diversification, right? So one of the things that it says is we don't invest in corporations enough, whether that's private or public.
So that means stock.
Yes. It says that we have a higher percentage of our allocation towards real estate, a little bit. A lot of our money is in pension entitlements, but when you look at private businesses, corporate equities, and mutual funds, we are underrepresented. So when you have these bull markets, we're not getting the effect of the bull market because the crazy part is, again, we are in our echo chambers online, but the data shows that Black folks still aren't investing in the stock market. That's just the bottom line. The data shows it.
Yeah, and it's a contributing factor why we're lagging in black wealth. Contributing, not leading. Leading factor is racism. All right, let's not be.
Yeah, let's put that out there because I don't want to take the one clip and say this is what. That's not what we're saying. But what I'm saying is it showed that. So because we're overrepresented in real estate, when real estate popped the way it did during the pandemic, if you look at the article, the headline.
But no. Let's go back even further, right? So because I remember there was a study about this after the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. Black families didn't recover as well as non-Black families because most of their assets are in what? They're resident.
Yeah.
Right? Not even real estate, it's their residence. And so matter of fact, me and Lawrence were having this debate the other day. When you look at all the issues with real estate as it relates to the Black community, it doesn't really make sense for us to front load so heavy into residential property for ourselves, right? It makes sense for rental property, for buying and flipping and things like that. But when we look at all the things from redlining, appraisals, like the appraisal things are freaking crazy. And it's crazy.
So I want to push back a little bit with that too, right? So because the one thing about home ownership, though, it does give you a sense of control. Because if we're not pouring into residential real estate, now we're at the whim of the people that own the residential real estate.
No. But remember what I said? I said front load, right? So we have people that will buy. I'm not against home ownership, but what you'll do is you'll have people that will put the majority of their assets into their home.
Mm-hmm.
And your home isn't going to usually, this is what the data says, give you the bang for your buck that other things are going to give you.
All right, I don't disagree with that. But one of the things so this is why you start to have a deeper conversation about racism and about our history, right? One of the reasons why real estate has done us well for those of us that actually have assets is because it's a forced savings. It really comes down to discipline. So it's like the old Primerica argument, not to really talk about insurance. When they used to say,
Lord.
I'm not advocating.
So for everybody watching, remember this.
It's only entertainment.
All right.
What I'm talking about is their whole slogan, which was what? Buy term
and invest the rest.
But when you start to look at the numbers, the problem is most people never invested the difference. The thing about real estate is it was kind of a forced savings. So most people want to secure the roof over their head.
Absolutely.
Just based upon appreciation, based upon how land works and all those things in terms of scarcity and whatnot. It's a forced savings that over time has enabled a lot of us who own real estate to build wealth. When you look at wealth in the Black community, a lot of it is tied into real estate, but it's a reason for that. But the article is talking about why we need to actually spend more time learning and studying the stock market, because when it has these huge booms, we're not seeing that the way that other communities are seeing it because we're underrepresented there. But real estate wasn't like real estate. We're only 27% versus 24%. So we have a little bit of a gap there, but the gap in business versus pension, which also means that a lot of our wealth is tied up into our job and not necessarily like, we're not when the corporations and everything that go up in value the way they're going up, we're just not seeing that. So the article talks about since COVID, how our net worth has went up, but the gap is still like just tremendous. But this is the interesting part to me, Kamar, just looking at where our money is actually allocated. And again, like 44% of our wealth is tied up in pensions. So this comes from Black folks being represented in government jobs, because for the most part, that's where you find the old school pensions at. But when you look at corporate equities and mutual funds,
5% versus 24.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge, right? So
real estate becomes a drag for us to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, but not that much. It's 27% versus 24.
No. But it's not 27% versus 24. It's 5 versus 24, right? When we look at where we're putting our monies versus equity versus not that.
Equity, yeah. But I'm talking about where we're represented in terms of real estate. We have 27% of our money in real estate. We're actually overrepresented in our jobs. In terms of the pensions that we get from our jobs. So
I would love to see how they got that fact though. The pension. I would think white families would over-index. Why can't I have this up? White families would over-index on pensions as well. That's really interesting.
So if you dig a little bit deeper into the data, what you'll see is that a lot of the Black wealth that exists specifically in America, right, is within that DMV area, right?
Oh, that's a fact.
And a lot of that is based
upon government contracts.
And a lot of it is based upon our relationship in terms of working with the government. So to me, that tells a little bit of the story there too. So, but I just think it's interesting because a lot of times we get caught up in our little bubbles and we think that everybody's investing in the market. And the data shows that everybody's not investing in the market. A lot of us are still like fearful of the market. A lot of us still don't understand the market. So even though everybody and their mom is selling courses and doing all this stuff online, the data shows that most of us still do not put our money in the market.
Courses that they Googled and put together and slapped out and just threw out there. Ain't never invested a day in their life. But that's a whole other conversation. All right. Jimmy, you had another piece, right?
Yeah, no. So I mean, those are the ones I just really want to show. I want to show the difference between what we have in terms of income.
I thought there was another one. Oh, you showed that already. Okay.
Yeah, I showed those two, the income versus expenses. Like that to me, that was the story right there, because we're starting every month off 1,200 in a hole, as a collective, not any of us individually.
That's rough. That's rough.
It is rough. How are we supposed to actually build wealth when we starting every month in a hole?
Well, you know the old adage, right? First thing you got to do is stop digging a hole.
This is true.
And, you can't have this conversation without having this systemic conversation, the racist conversation. However, you also have to look at what activities that you are contributing to aid in what this race's plans for you are or were. But Jigginson 17 says this: in your opinion, what makes the 4-piece wing and fried rice community more economically established than the bagel and lox community and the gas station community? Oh my God, I love it. By the way, I love it. There's a lot of parts of that. Number one, we not buying from our own people when we buy that 4-piece and fried rice. Let's start there. The land's not ours. The business isn't ours. At least when the bagel and lox community go buy bagels and lox, they're buying it from who? Yeah. Other people in the bagels and lox community.
He's talking about the folks that own the 4-piece.
I know what he's talking about.
Okay.
But to me, that's like the most glaring thing, though, right?
Well, for me, the answer to that question, though, honestly, is and I guess you can make this argument for all those.
That's right. I know where you're going.
Culture, right? Culture, and also that one thing that brings them together, which most of the time is culture, right? So when you talk about the 4-piece wing fried rice community, they just have a specific culture, and they spend money with each other within that culture.
Jigga, where are you from? I need to know this. Where are you from? Because in Philly, it's a 3-piece SPK. Now, if y'all don't know what SPK is, I know y'all not from Philly. And it can be fried rice. It can also be French fries too. But you know what, Jimmy? I want to say this, right? One of the things is culture, right? You know, I'm a big proponent of talking about culture. But I think in 2023, I think we got to stop being meek and milquetoast about saying what one of the biggest contributors were or is racism, systemic, institutional racism. And I am all for pulling myself by the bootstraps, but that is not at ignoring what was done. That is not about saying, listen.
But I think that a lot of times, in my opinion, at least, a lot of times, too many people get caught up in saying it's one thing when it's not one thing.
It's multiple things.
We're being attacked in the criminal justice system. We're being attacked in the healthcare system. We're being attacked in the banking system. We're being attacked in the educational system, environmental. So it's not one thing. It's not one thing. I mean, I guess you could say the root cause of it all is racism, right?
Yes. But the root cause of all those other things is racism too.
Yeah. So no, that's what but I wasn't speaking about our lack of culture. I was speaking about those other communities' culture
and what they value.
And what puts them in a position. I wasn't speaking about our culture one way or another. I was speaking about their culture.
So Saturday, I was riding around. There's a community in the suburb of Philadelphia called Ballackinwood. I don't even know why I was over there. But when you ride around there, you can't help but notice what they do on Saturdays. It was Saturday I was riding around there, right? A whole bunch of young white kids, middle-aged white men with their hats on, with their black jackets and their black slacks on, with their white shirts on. And they were all walking up and down, going to and fro. That's what they do on Saturdays. They go to Sabbath, and obviously these are Jewish people if you have never seen it before. But that's what they do as a community. That's part of their fellowship. I don't understand everything behind it. I'm not Jewish, shalom, but that's what they do. What do we do every week? Go to church. And those numbers are going down, it seems like. And there's a whole bunch of other issues I'm not even going to cover today with church and black folks. But what do we do that's a positive contributor through and through? And I'm not saying the church isn't a positive contributor, right? I'm not doing that.
I am. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm trying to avoid that because that's a nuanced conversation too.
It is.
Everything with us is a nuanced conversation, but that's really nuanced because you got some people that will just go full-fledged. I'm like Malcolm X, leave your religion at home, because I feel like that's one conversation that nobody can ever win.
Yeah.
So, but going back to culture, they welcome it down and they're doing whatever they're doing, but their culture surrounds themselves. Their culture surrounds the promotion of themselves. Their culture surrounds the protection of themselves.
Have you ever If you ever
Look,
have a conversation with one of them and you actually have that conversation about wealth, you'll see how everything, like, their culture permeates all their talking points in relation to real estate,
yep.
relation to investment, savings. I actually listened to a podcast, the Kosher Money podcast, right? Because I just find it interesting to hear different perspectives on money, and it's amazing how much their culture like bleeds into those conversations. You could be trying to talk; they could be talking specifically about strategy, and somehow they'll bring a part of their culture into that conversation. It's just very interesting to see. So for me, I try to learn from other cultures to see what do they have that I can kind of try to work on personally, or figure out a way to bring to our culture. But
I mean, there's a clip. I
speaking
can't
of
find it. I
all
can't
the other
find it anymore. There's a clip out there with Minister Louis Farrakhan saying and instructing us to study the Jews. Because I get flack a lot of times when they say, "Kabar, you love the Jews. You love the Jews." No, I don't love them. But I do believe we can model certain things, not mimic, but model certain things that can be beneficial for our community and our own betterment. What were you about to say, Jimmy? I'm sorry.
No, what you said was absolutely true. And what we should do every week, though, every Friday at 7 p.m., we should be checking out By the Hoods, our live show, because we do a live show every Friday at 7 p.m. and we give away some Bitcoin every Friday. But anyway.
Now, if you're going to do it for the culture, what else are you supposed to do, Jimmy?
Which part is this? Talk about every
So
Wednesday.
listen, every Friday at 7 p.m. listen to By the Hood. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. listen to Wealthy Wednesdays with the Finance Rebel Show.
No, I just want to make sure I was correct. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So every Wednesday,
See, I know that they do every Friday, and I
I
also
know you
know
do every Wednesday.
I know their podcast also drops every Wednesday as well.
By the way, our newest podcast that dropped this morning, Kamari is on there. We have a great conversation, and you get to see Kamari and Corey go at it about cash versus cash flow.
Cash is king. Don't forget it. It's the first rule of finance. All right, but Kayla says apparently they used to change for miles and time. Now they only charge for miles, right? We're talking about Uber. Because I think I did see something where they talked about the charging of the rates of an Uber. And that is another big issue I have with them. Is that you really don't have control over your pricing.
Wow, $20 rent increase.
Yeah. I wonder in Starlight, is that? I don't know how that just started. Sorry, y'all.
You bugging this evening, bro. What's going on with you, man?
I'm excited to be with you,
are you like dehydrated?
My beautiful black brother.
Hey, listen, man, I appreciate that, brother.
No, I don't know why that started going on. But Starlight, I'm interested to know, are you working with subsidized housing? How do you know they can't afford a $20 increase? Is it just talking to them?
They said they ain't paying the $5. That's why.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I believe it, though. I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have. All right, you can get a Chico stick in Wildwood Soda. But listen, on 775, how you gonna get the Wildwood from Philly? You got to be living in Wildwood in order to get that. All right, with the current minimum wage, it takes days' work to get a special.
Come on, man.
If you know, you know.
Hey, Don, man, come on, man.
Don's in rare form today.
Shout out to Zion, man.
Oh, here we go, Lawrence. Let's go. In 2023, it's better to own versus rent. Median homeowners are wealthier than median renters. Yeah, but who? I'm only talking about black folks, right? And so it's hard to stand on that because you don't know everybody's situation. We just got on here talking about minimum wage is $7.75 an hour. They're not buying medium valued homes. They're not buying homes at all. So is it better for a minimum wage worker to buy or rent? I don't know. Maybe. What are the other circumstances? It depends.
So my opinion on the buy versus rent is I think personal finance is personal and everybody's situation is different because it also depends upon where you want to live versus, where you can afford to live. So, but I do understand the data does show that median homeowners are wealthier than median renters, and that goes across the board for every culture and race.
Of course it does. But my point is a lot of people can't even get into the median. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying.
And here's another thing, right? Which as black folks, we don't talk enough about. A lot of us choose to rent because our educational options are piss poor where we live at. And so we tend to go rent in higher rent districts so our children can have better opportunities for education. That's a real thing.
That's true too. That's true too. Some
Like,
people.
so I'm just saying we gotta like if we're talking about our people, we gotta look at all the stuff, not just
the reason I think that it's a personal thing is because if you have a job where you're not stable, where you're moving from time to time, then all that factors in.
Right. All right, Lauren says, "Wow, sounds good. It makes sense. Most people never invest the rest." Lawrence, you are on the money there. That is correct. Yes, JW is breaking down the blueprint. He does it very well.
Thank you, sir.
All right, the pension data is interesting when most military / law enforcement / fire departments are mostly white in every state. Exactly, Don.
Yeah, but I wonder what our representation is within those spaces, though, right? So even though most in terms of number, right, but as a percentage, are we overrepresented there, right? So let's just say we pick up. Let's just say I don't know that. I haven't looked at data.
I can only speak about Philly. I know I'm Philly right now.
What percentage of we are the fire department in Philly?
It's not as high as people think it is.
I don't know the data.
Yeah, I have family on the fire department.
I would like to, see that, right? Because if we're 13-14% of the population, are we 13-14% of those things, right? So overall, obviously, we're not going to be the most, but from a percentage standpoint.
Anthony, did you look it up? So the question was, what is SPK? Salt, pepper, ketchup. So that's a Philly thing, y'all. I know a lot of people don't like putting ketchup on their chicken, but in Philly we do. A lot of us do, right? Don't let me overgeneralize.
So,
all right, Aaron approves loans. Go ahead, Jimmy.
So FEMA says in terms of firefighters, we make up 8.4%
in the nation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not even the national average. All right, so Aaron approves loans, A&P. Oh, by the way, thank you for joining us, brother. Kosher money was dope, extremely intentional about all aspects. Yes, it is. I agree.
In terms of police, 10%.
All right, about that wallet says I'm going to start doing Thursday so I can catch this show. All right, so we got Wednesday with the Finance Rebel. We got Thursday with About That Wallet. We got Friday with Bob the Hood. Diamond Dave, you're still here. What day is your live stream? Do you do live streams? I don't know about I've seen Dave do live.
Dave be popping up like Dave is.
You do live streams and pre-recorded though.
Yeah, Dave. All right, got it.
All right, we got the rotation. All right, Kayla says buy a car isn't the answer when you don't have
buying a home. I don't know what's up with you today, bro.
I'm tired, man. I'm tired.
All right, listen, but that's a great point, Caleb. But that's why
personal finance is personal.
Exactly.
Now, why? So for y'all that don't know, Jimmy is also a real estate agent. So Jimmy, why is it bad to buy a home when you don't have adequate reserves?
Well, I think that the whole conversation about reserves, whether that's your personal money or your home, is very important to have, because when you buy a home, you're responsible for repairs. And if something goes wrong, guess who has to take care of it? You do. You can't call your landlord, right? You can't call your bank, although you're paying a mortgage. So you have to have reserves. And one of the things that I find is, specifically to my investors out there, when you have investment property, you definitely got to have reserves. I was shocked and amazed at how many investors didn't have reserves when I saw the pandemic hit, and tenants couldn't pay and didn't pay. And I saw all kinds of people get in trouble with their finances because they didn't have reserves.
Early. It wasn't even late. And
they missed 1 month and they in trouble. I'm like, you don't got no reserves? Like, for me, and this is just a personal thing, and I've said this on several occasions, I don't take any income from a property until I have at least 6 months set aside. And that's a very conservative approach. But the thing about money that I understand is, it's okay to chase and try to get more doors and more doors, but it's very important to protect what you already have. Right? Protecting what you have is very important.
Facts. All right, so let's see. All right, I'm from Baltimore. We just get chicken box with SBK. Okay. All right, Kamari, will you touch on Dave Ramsey's strategy on paying cash for a used car and settling? All right, we'll tackle that. I will add you to the question list. We'll get right back to it. All right, so Dave is Thursday and Saturday.
There we go.
All right, so we got me on Wednesday, Dave on Thursday, Anthony on Thursday, Jimmy on Friday, and then Dave again on Saturday.
There we go.
Man, I used to do a Wednesday, Saturday thing. Dave got me thinking I want to do that again. I don't know if I can keep up, though. All right, so Aaron says, I counsel Black families daily on the mortgage process. If people don't start partnering up and making better decisions, single-family homes will be a commodity.
I agree with that.
Agree.
I agree with that 1,000%. I just had this conversation on our Friday show as I was in Philly and I was in a neighborhood. I was down Baltimore Avenue and I saw what
University
happened.
City, Baltimore Avenue, or Southwest Philly?
46 in Baltimore. But even then, what I saw like just had me astounded when I saw a Starbucks and I saw people having like lunch outside. Like I don't hang on that part of the city. No, I'm uptown, so I don't generally go on other sides of the city. But Kamari, as a matter of fact, I was telling you when I went to see Dr. Williams, when I got my new dentist, shout out to Dr. Williams, I got my new dentist from Kamari. So when I went to his office out there, which was interesting, is this is a neighborhood. Last time, I shouldn't say last time, but years in the past, and I looked at the data. I'm talking about 2018. Single family homes were going for 150. I saw stuff on the market for 700,000 in 2023, a 5-year period. So that started me to do some more digging. I started looking at just like regular single family homes in Philadelphia and what the prices and the values were. And I was astounded. And I also came across an article that the Inquirer put out. The average working class family in Philadelphia can't even afford to buy a house these days. Right. And they talk about if you made $50,000 in Philadelphia in years past, you can still become a homeowner. There's no inventory for you now in 2023 if you make 50K. So the city is becoming, the wealth gap is becoming wider. And the idea of even owning land in this city is, so it's kind of like we're becoming New York in a weird way. Because the thing about
control is coming up.
Well, that's already been argued in city council. We don't know what's happening with that. But the thing is, in terms of the Northeast, if you look at it on a macro level, just the Northeast, pull out a little bit, and you look at DC, you look at New York, you look at Boston, Philadelphia was always cheaper. But our numbers, and now after the pandemic, you have people from Boston and New York moving to Philadelphia to get more bang for their buck. At least locally speaking, what Aaron says is true. But if it's happening here, I'm pretty sure it's happening everywhere. The idea of the average family being able to buy a single family home is, it's scary to think what's going to happen. The question I have for you, Kamari, and I'm going to shut up after this, is as I look at all these different data points, right? As I look at the cost of living, as I look at people not being able to afford a home, as I look at the wealth gap that's getting wider and wider, what's the breaking point, right? At some point, like what's going to happen? Like, because people going to take to the street at some point. Like it's only so much you can squeeze out of the orange, I guess is the question I'm saying. Like we're getting stomped on everywhere, but it has to be a breaking point.
Technically, I think we've already been to the breaking point and came back from it. So I think we still have more resilience left. But to your point, right, talking about the data, I don't know, man. We live in weird times right now. Mm-hmm. Like everything's weird. And I know as the premise of this show, right, we wanted to talk about data. But even the crime that's being shown outside, a lot of times they're showing it on social, but it's not necessarily reflected in the numbers, right? So we're living in this basically video game world that's very much disconnected with reality. So what is reality? And so it's like, Jimmy says this a lot. Philadelphia is Gotham, and we're all running from everybody from Arkham. Basically, they're out running the streets right now. So I don't know what the breaking point is. Part of me does these shows So we don't ever test that breaking point, right? The reason I say save all the time, even though Corey disagrees with me, but I've seen that savings will save lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a coin jar around here somewhere that has literally saved my life several times, right? So when I say cash is king, it literally is. That's not me. That is the number one financial law that I learned in Finance 101 when I was at Temple University.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at everything around it, it really comes into play. I know people don't like it because they're into this whole cash is trash and trying to run the play. And you have more popular people online than me that's saying keeping cash is dumb. You want to keep it all in the street and flip it and double it, but nobody ever thinks about the bad times. Like you said,
well,
COVID hit.
Getting back to our earlier conversation, we talk about the idea of thinking like a bank. The strongest banks, I'm not going to say all of them because we've seen some of them. The strongest banks always worry about having reserves.
Right.
Liquidity. Having reserves, and liquidity is important.
And it's funny, if you look at the major corporations, right, outside of the banks, the strongest businesses have the strongest cash flow. They have the strongest balance sheets. And so it all goes into play. And again, I'm not saying you're not supposed to invest. That would be ridiculous, right? Because you'll never keep up with inflation. But if you don't have that cushion in there to keep the wheels turning when you hit rough times, or to take advantage of opportunities when they come, you're really hustling backwards.
Yeah.
You're really hustling backwards. I don't feel like I answered your question, Jimmy, but
I just wonder, like, with everything going on, it has to be like to me, I'm just like, things are wild out here, bro. And in terms of, and again, us being attacked on so many different fronts. And when you talk about the fact that it's going to get to the point where we won't be able to buy a home, we're going to be a permanent renters class. I just think that it has to be some sort of breaking point, man. Where people are going to take to the streets and like, want to kill. What's the old thing? Kill your masters. They're going to want to kill their masters because it's, man.
So
I don't want to get too deep into my conspiracy theory bag, man. But we got folks out here struggling, and you got other folks who are like, trying to go see the Titanic and spending a quarter M. It's like people gonna get this tired of this, man. They're gonna get tired of this, man. Eventually.
Not eventually. It happens every cycle. If you study history, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back to France when they cut the king's heads off, right? The wealth gap was there. When we go back to not the great, but to the Depression, the wealth gap was there. They kidnapped Lindenberg's daughter or whatever. They were robbing homes that were full of opulence and they were selling it on the street. So, I mean, history tells you that. History does repeat itself. So if the government doesn't do something really significant and people don't get together, it's going to be too late.
That's why we better start learning how to protect our homes. That's a whole other conversation,
but you know what? Let's take it a step further, right? Not only do we need to learn how to protect our homes, we need to learn how to protect ourselves and our people.
Yes.
And part of that comes in the manner of not being so individualistic, because I mean, I know we saw a lot with the rise of the orange monkey and promoting everybody. For those who don't follow me often, the orange monkey is President 44, right? But
whoa, 45, dog.
45, my bad. 45. I told you I'm tired. So with 45, all those people were doing like wild things. So the KKK comes down and they walk down, I don't know, 23rd in Allegheny, 23rd in Lehigh. Are we really ready for that? Can we really handle that? A lot of people say yes, they like all the gangsters got guns. Them jokers don't know how to shoot them guns.
I mean, it's some truth to that, right?
There's a lot of truth to it.
I mean, but I still don't think that when they do try to come around these parts, they know where to go and where not to go. Let's just keep it a buck, though.
For now.
Because the thing about bullies also don't want anybody to fight back, right?
That's true.
They know they can pick on folks. They don't want to fight at all.
But we also know bullies get emboldened with crowds too, so they have more numbers. And so, again, if we are not organized, we are not ready for the ultimate threat.
No, we're not. I mean, shout out to my family at 23rd and Lehigh. I got family on there, man. I'm saying, like, shout out to y'all, man.
So hold on, we got a couple more joints in here. I'm and we'll get ready to get out of here quickly. All right, Aaron also says everyone is looking for no money because of our lack of resources as a group. It makes owning real estate extremely difficult because it's hard to have a proper expectations on long-term holding. So that brings me to a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron says there's a lot of, no money down. There's a lot of grants coming down. A lot of people can qualify for those grants. So if a person doesn't have reserves but can qualify for a grant, closing assistance, all of that, should they still do it?
You want my answer to that?
Yeah, you're the expert here.
Oh no, I mean I would say no. I would say no, but I also know what happens in real life. You know what I'm saying? Folks
Wait
are trying to
a minute. Why do you say no? Let's get it all out. Let's flesh it out. Why do you say no?
I say no because to me, affordability isn't just being able to get into the loan. Affordability means that if you get into the loan and that, after 2 months something happens, then what happens? Are you going to then fall behind on everything else? I mean, we set our folks up for failure, right? And a lot of times what I find, again, this is just my personal experience, is that sometimes people try to buy too much home, right? But that goes back to, and this is why everything is connected. The reason most of the time people are trying to buy too much home is because they're looking to be in certain areas to get better education, right? So if we had education the way it should be, and we didn't have to make those kind of decisions. So again, all of this stuff is connected, right? The education system. This is why politics is important. We can't just focus on let's just run the bag up. If you focus on just running the bag up, you'll never win, right? And when I say politics, I'm not talking about getting caught up in these national elections. I'm talking about your local politics. A lot of times people come to me like, I want to buy a home. And I ask them, where you want to buy it? I'm like, well, who's the council person over there? They don't know. Who's your state rep? They don't know, right? But this should be a part of the conversation you have because politics are important, specifically on a local level. You got to get involved in local politics to understand who's making decisions that affect your day-to-day life. I know that was off on a tangent, but
no, actually it isn't, because like you said, everything's connected. It's all connected.
And if you can't afford to take care of a minor repair, then you're setting yourself up for failure. The house is going to fall down around you, or you're going to end up having to miss a payment on something else to take care of this. Because to me, you can't afford the home. Getting approved for a loan and being able to afford something are two different things.
Okay. I just wanted to, had to talk about that. All right. Wow. Y'all getting busy in that chat. All right. Give me a minute, y'all. We going to get to y'all. Oh, we got some new people here. Jabbar.
I just had a 2-hour conversation with Jabbar today, man. We was talking about the CoffeeZilla video, man.
Oh, you watched that, Jabbar? What'd you think about that? Throw that in the chat for us. I kind of wanted to talk about that today, but didn't want to talk about it today.
Yeah, we leave it alone, man.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just say this. Everybody's a scammer out here. That's all I'm saying, man. It's like this shit's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yes, it's
really bad. It's really bad. All right, Kayla says there are landlords out there that don't even have the deposit to return to the tenants. And for the record, y'all, that is a
insane.
fact. It's insane. And technically, that's not their money. That money is supposed to be in escrow.
Yes, it is.
But listen. Get the horns to Kayla because she's dropping gems over here. She's dropping bombs.
Yeah. Kayla in her bag right now.
Yeah, that's real. I see it all the time. And not only that, a lot of real estate investors commingle that deposit money with their rent money. And I can't tell you how many times they overpay in taxes because they add that in. But that's another story for another day. All right, Kayla says, really, I see single family home ownership become a commodity. Everyone wants to be a landlord now, and they are buying the single family homes to rent. This affects home prices as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another variable too.
Yeah. The breaking point, I said the same thing. We went from being able to make it off one income to then needing two incomes, and now everyone has a job and a side hustle. Man, all right, Still Rocks. What's up, Still Rocks? So, man, back in the day, I used to take a handful of change, get 10 on Pump 7, nothing but dimes and nickels.
Man, listen, I remember those days, man. Shout out to the Sunoco, man, at Germantown, Washington Lane, man. Shout out to
Yeah, I was
y'all.
about to say, shout out to the Sunoco at Washington and Ogans, 93 cents a
Oh, okay.
gallon.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's going way back to showing our age. Yes, Diamond Dave says you have to save.
You have to have it.
You have to have it to save. I'm sorry.
So
I think a lot of people do have it, but a lot of people don't have it, right? And again, not being dumb on it.
Let's look at the data. We starting off 1,200 in the hole.
We starting off 1,200 in the hole, but if we were to go through, I listen. I'll share this story. I have a couple of clients I do my money coaching with, and one client I'll have them print out the last 3 months of their bank statements, right? Because I don't have people just dream up budgets. Let's go through the last 3 months of your statements. Get 2 highlighters. Get a green highlighter and highlight the things that are necessities and needs for your household, and get a red highlighter for the stuff that's bullshit. So I had to go through the last 3 months. $11,000. Found $11,000, and like I can do that with just about anybody, including myself.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, though, right?
And number, wait a minute, let me say this. She's also privileged, right? She's in a good position in life. She's blessed. I know everybody's not blessed, but a lot of people are. And I think if a lot of people took the blessings that we all do have and put them to better use, it will be a better thing. But go ahead, Jimmy.
All right, so a couple of things you said there. Just like you said, a lot of people are. I would say most people aren't, and the data shows that, right? The data shows that the median income for a Black family is 38,000. Any way you want to. The fact that she's coming to you for a money coach means that that's not the average person. The average person isn't looking for any money coach, right? So
I don't know about that.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Go ahead.
The average person isn't looking for a money coach because the average person they're just not. I mean, you work in the business. How many of the average person doesn't look for a tax professional? They get their taxes done in the back of KFC, right? So
well, they're not a tax professional. It's a tax preparer.
I'm joking about it. That's the reason I made that.
No, but that is a real thing, though.
It's a true story. That's a true story. But the point is, the fact that she's looking for money coaching, that's not the average person, man. And most people are struggling. The data shows it. So most people are starting off the month 1,200 in a hole. So to Dave's point, you got to have it first to be able to save it. So we need to work on people's income, right?
Right, but there's
only so much you can cut before, like.
But wait a minute, you just broke that. You took it to school. You took it to stat class, right? The median. Everybody is not at medium or below. There's also those who are above, like taken out for the exogenous ones, the outliers. There's a lot who are
talking about a small
doing okay.
Most people are closer to the median. If you look at the bell curve, most people will be closer to the median, right? So
there's a lot of issues with the bell curve, too, though. But Jimmy's about to get into average distributions now. We're going back to statistics class.
No, statistically speaking, most people are closer to the median than they are as being an outlier, right? So the average person isn't looking for a money coach. If you want to do some research on how many people have a money coach, that number will be few and far between.
Well, money coach, financial advisor.
And let's break it down further. If you want to look at how many people in our community have a money coach or financial advisor, what do you think that number is?
It's probably much lower.
Exactly. That's my point.
But
so
I still surmise, and I'll stand on this. I don't care what income bracket you're in. I could find extra money for you. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so, again, listen, two things can be totally opposite and can still be true at the same time.
I've sat down with some folks, man. And again, I'll be in the trenches, man. I've sat down with some folks, and my recommendation for them is, you need to find a roommate or you need to move in with family.
And that's real too. That's real too.
Because the thing is, you look at their situation and you're like, you don't even have money. That some people out here, man, working.
How are you doing it? Like, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all, right? And I was going to show a piece because I think it was it? Yeah, I think Aaron brought it up, right? So this is a piece I wrote years ago. And it baffles me that more people are not doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote like a whole guide to kill the black wealth gap, but just this point right here.
Where'd you publish this at?
It's on Medium. I said I was going to take some time and write a book about this, but I haven't had time. But multi-generational living, and I think I wrote this in 16, January. So like 15 and 16. And so it's just 15 points about Black wealth. One of the things we're going to have to do is get into multi-generational living or just having roommates, right? And I wrote here, it says when it comes to having several family members living in single household, Latinos and Asians are the butt of the joke, but in reality, the joke's on us. And if we're going back to the data that you were talking about, you just said it, many people do need to look at having an extra person in the house, whether it's paying half or a portion, but it's just another way to make more money and make
I don't
a
have
little bit stretch.
I don't have the study in front of me, but I read a study recently that said that as the cost of living is going up, we now have more single individual homes. This wasn't done by race, which is done across the board. We have more single individual homes than we've ever had. So we're in a space now where people are like, whether that's an apartment or a house they buy, like they're moving by themselves. And it's more of those than ever before. By the way, I just read the data, only 30-something% of people across the board have a financial advisor and money coach. When you start to break it down by rate, 34%.
34%. I believe that.
I'm sorry, 35%. It's actually 35%.
We're not gonna mince words over 1%, Jimmy.
Yeah, no, I'm saying because I pulled it back up. 35% of Americans work with a financial advisor or money coach, right? If you break that down into,
who's that from?
Let me see. This comes from. Let me find this study.
Richard, you are correct. That's all good until your roof is leaking and your alternator goes out. That's a fact.
This was done by an organization called Smart Assets.
Okay.
Yeah, so Smart Assets Advisors LLC. So yeah, if you start to look at it by race,
it's going to be worse.
We're probably in the single digits.
So Rich said it's going to be peasants and nobles again. And that was going back to what I talked about with the French Revolution. Man. When they cut the king's head off.
You see how much it costs to fly in 2023?
I have to book a flight. I've been avoiding it.
Man, shout out to everybody because me and Kamari going to FinCon this year. So shout out to everybody who's going to be going on to FinCon. I got lucky.
I know Anthony's going to be there. Right. Lawrence is going to be there too, I believe.
Okay, I'll be down there. I'll be in the building. You know what I mean? I got my first class flight on points, but that's either here or there.
See, I can't even afford to fly first class.
I got mine on points. Yo, shout out to Don Johnson, man. I like the fact that Don is quoting me. I actually said that before. So, Don be listening, man. So I appreciate you, Don.
Our unit says it's always good to keep cash, a good amount of it, too, because what if the banking system goes down? I'll say this, though. If the banking system goes down, cash is not going to matter for a while. Food's going to matter. Shelter's going to matter. Water's going to matter. Gasoline and travel is going to matter. Guns and bullets are going to matter. Those are the things that are going to matter. All right, Kim G says truth. Welcome, Kim G. Kim G. All right. More cyber issues. Are they talking back and forth?
Man, that'd be crazy. You pay you some gold and some Bitcoin. Okay.
Also, we as Black people better have our passports just in case something jumps off. I agree with that.
Hey, Kamari, man. Stack sats, man. Stack sats or die trying. I'm just saying, like, when she talked about the computers, like cybersecurity issues, that's a conversation no one's having either.
Say that again.
The comment she made about cybersecurity issues and hacking our banking systems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? The idea of war is different in 2023.
Absolutely. All right, Aaron says, not living near Black folks is the number one driver of real estate values in this country, in my honest opinion. That's not your honest opinion, that's data. And it seems like when I bring it up, y'all get mad at me.
I'm trying to get Kamari to come on. I'm trying to get a panel of folks that want to have a conversation about Charles Blow's book versus Neely Fuller. The idea.
That's right. We already agreed to it.
Okay, so you be a part of it. We're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about the idea of living near each other.
Anglo's calling people rich scammers is rich.
Oh yeah,
Anglo's calling people scammers is rich.
Yeah, especially when you talk about this land we standing on right now. That was a scam. Never mind. But go ahead. But yeah, you ain't lying, bro. You ain't lying.
It's got to be automatic savings. Okay, Germantown and Washington Lane, that's home.
Hey, listen,
right.
man, I grew up right in Morton in Washington Lane, man. 155 East Washington Lane.
Oh, we giving our addresses.
I
Okay.
ain't there no more. So like y'all
You
go
know
by
you
there
still
if you
own
want
it.
to.
You know you still own it.
Go by there if you want to. I wish I did. I wish I did.
All right, Richard says there's people telling me they can't save $5 a check. Hard to believe when I see the spending habits.
That's
what
something.
I'm saying.
But I get that. But again, I'm talking these people. We ain't talking about the majority. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So Diamond Dave says, Kamar, do you think that the people that can afford you have it? No, that's why sometimes I do it for free.
Yeah, and
go to the poorest areas in Philly.
Kamar ain't cheap either.
Really, dog?
No, listen, you look out for me. We family, so I get the family.
I look out for a lot of people.
But I'm just saying, your record.
I look out for a lot of people.
Your retail price.
And listen, don't reach out to me to be looked out for. You can't ask to be looked out for.
I mean?
Listen, I got kids to feed, man. I got tuitions to pay. Go to the poorest areas in Philly and tell them to find money. Say, I have.
Yeah, but listen, he's right, bro. You go to the poorest.
I'm not. Listen, like I said before, he is right, but I'm right too. If it's not $1, if it's not $5, they can save $1.
They're starting off the month $1,200 in the hole.
Yeah, and I've been there. I was on welfare. I've been there, and I'm not going to do the whole black, the conservative thing because again, I know certain shit is really fucked up. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that there's a lot more that we can do to get by. To get in position to do some things. I ain't saying you got to be rich. You got to throw $1,000 into the bank every paycheck. Richard just said it, $5. I'm saying $1.
Again, all I want you to do is to keep the perspective, right?
I have the perspective.
Because you're talking from a privileged position. Me and you have had this conversation before.
We're all privileged. Everybody that's on this live right now is privileged.
Absolutely. But when you talk about your situation. I mean, you've had this conversation. You talk about, but you had family that were there to support and help you get back to where you need to be. You told me that. You talked about, right? So we've had this conversation.
Yes, and I know everybody doesn't have family to help. I get that. I get that. But what I'm saying is, Jimmy, I would say there's more people that have $1 per pay. If they have a job, because everybody ain't got a job, I get it. They got $1 per pay they can save. That's what I'm saying.
I just don't agree with that because I'm looking at data. I'm not giving my feelings. Give me the data that shows
no, tell me this. The data is anecdotal. So everybody that you run into, from the children that you rock with at the camp to some of the other people that you meet, a lot of them don't have $1. I'm not saying all, but a lot of them don't have $1.
I'm speaking of the majority.
No, I just framed it. I said in your anecdotal experience, do you meet people that have $1 to save?
I do, but I also meet a ton of people that don't. Right? There's like 40% of our population in Philly that don't even have the internet.
A lot. That's jacked up.
They can't even watch this conversation we're having right now because they don't even have access to internet.
That's a fact.
So it's like,
that's a fact.
I mean, the data shows me that like the average, and again, we're starting off the month $1,200 in the hole. You talk about saving $5. They need to make more money. They can't even afford to eat.
Yeah, but a lot of times to make more money, they got to be able to put themselves in a position to get to the money.
Again, sometimes that might take. To me, that's a different conversation because that's a conversation.
It's all connected, bro. It's
all connected. but I think that how this conversation started, what Dave was talking about, you got to have it to save it. And again, I'm speaking based on data. I'm speaking data. The data shows that we're starting the month off $1,200 in the hole.
Right.
And that's how this all started. And when you look at what that money, and when you look at where that money is being spent, that money isn't being spent frivolous. It's being spent on healthcare. It's being spent on houses. It's being spent on utility. It's being spent on personal care, clothing. Like I say, the things that the people are spending money on it. This ain't people going to the strip club. This ain't people out here with Netflix.
It's expensive to be poor. I get it. It's one of those situations where two things are true, but a lot of times they're opposite. I'm not disagreeing with that.
I'm just saying, because I know that a lot of times the conversation gets into this conservative bootstrap conversation.
And I clarified my point.
You did say that, but no one wants to get into the data though, because when you get into the data will tell you a story. And the data is not my opinion. The data will tell you a story that people are starting their month off behind.
We started off with the data. We're still in the data. I'm not disagreeing with the data. But what I'm saying is that the data will also ferret out that there are people that do have a dollar
And
every paycheck
but I told you that. I said, but
saved.
those are. I said, but if you want to spend time
And they
talking
can be
about the
close to the
outlier,
median. They
yeah.
can be 1 or 2 standard deviations away from the median.
Now, if you want to go 1 or 2 standard deviations away from the median, they're still in a deficit.
Some of them are not.
You know what I'm saying? They're still in a deficit.
But that's
right?
why. But
and
that's
then
why.
when you add in,
Wait a minute. Coming back to this, right? This is about solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest solutions you talked about was getting a roommate.
I think that's a conversation that we're going to have to really start having in terms of roommate, but also just family, like living.
Roommate, family, grandma, nana.
That's the conversation
all
that
of
we're
that.
honestly going to start to have more of in order just to survive. I'm not even talking about thriving. I'm talking about surviving right now. Aaron's point about people not being able to buy a single family home, that leads to that number going up because now you don't even control your monthly housing expense.
All right, so Eunice says both of you are right. Some people overspend, where you have to look at your finances to see where you are overspending, where you can cut back. Then you have some people that need to increase income. Again, I agree with both of that.
I'm not disagreeing. The only point I was making is the people you're speaking of are few and far between. Those aren't the majority. The majority are on the other side of that. And it doesn't matter what you say. The data shows that I'm right. Let's look at the data.
The data doesn't show that I'm wrong, though, either.
No, it does.
No, but here's the thing. We're talking about surviving, how to survive this financial struggle. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about choices and decisions that need to be made.
Yes.
They're going to be hard choices and decisions. Mm-hmm. So it might be, for example, I'll give you all a perfect example. My mother had a fire, right? My mother didn't want to live with me because my mom likes to smoke. And she calls me a dictator because I don't want my mother smoking in my house. Mm-hmm. I'm allergic to smoke. So she chose to move out. She didn't think about the strain that put on me in terms of finance. And I'm not bashing my mother. I'm just giving y'all a live scenario, right? But I told my mom, you don't have to leave. You don't have to pay for anything either. And she didn't want to do that because she wants to do what she wants to do when she wants to do it. And I get that. She's worked for that. She gets it. But in order to really do that, you can't necessarily be an individual, or you have to sacrifice some of your individuality to do that.
But what I'm talking about is, if you look at the numbers, the average person won't even be able to move, right? They don't have the money to get up and say, I'm not even going to live here no more.
Listen, you can always just walk out. How many people walked away from homes in 2008 and 2009?
No. Right? But I'm saying have somewhere to actually lay their head, right? So again, looking at the data, looking at this city, we have 40% of our population who can't afford the internet.
All right, so hold on. We probably should normalize saying at home longer. That's a fact. Imagine what a household could accomplish with everyone bringing income and a goal. I agree with that. You know, Kamari gets hot when you mention Bitcoin. Chill, Jimmy. I don't get hot. Y'all got to stop that. Y'all have labeled me a Bitcoin hater. Y'all have labeled me a real estate hater. I'm just talking about the nuance of it all, the details of it all.
That is true. I didn't realize that you do hate real estate too. What do you? I guess
I don't hate real estate.
You just like Ford stock. I guess that's what it is.
I don't like. I don't hate real estate. I don't hate Bitcoin.
Hold up. You also an insurance hater too. You hate everything. I just thought about that. But you know what though? That's why
you've never heard me say. So first of all, let's go to the data, right? You always want to talk about the damn data. Let's go to the data.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to show you here what I wrote. It's in the records, right? I can't.
But you know what though? This is why the Finance Rebel is the perfect name for you though.
Yeah. So I don't hate insurance, right? Point number 3. Point number. Where is it?
Oh, you was like long form content.
Oh yeah. Where is it? Where Dominic Stem? Where is it? Adequate life insurance coverage. Don't be selfish. I think life insurance. Let me say this. Let me get this on record. I think life insurance is probably the greatest financial tool ever created. And I've said that with you before. And you said no. You think Bitcoin is, for the record.
Well, I think I can make the argument for that, but I could also make the argument for the ownership of land. because when you look at the difference in a lot of third world countries versus like more developed countries, it's really about the ownership of land. That having a system that allows us to own land, which comes with a lot of other things in terms of being able to collect the data, being able to have like deeds and transfers.
Well,
So
then you could say then a stable legal system is the greatest
but
financial
the reason I can make the argument for Bitcoin though is because Bitcoin is the only true form of ownership. What I mean by that is
the only true form of ownership of what?
It gives you complete control, meaning that it's censorship resistant. Like have you ever had your bank account froze before?
You don't think they can freeze Bitcoin?
It's impossible.
Okay.
How?
I'm not getting into that debate with you.
And we can have a technical conversation if you want to.
I'm not getting into that debate with you.
I mean, we can get into a technical conversation if you want to, because
you love to talk about conspiracy theory.
You can stop. You can stop
all these Bitcoin whales out here. Who are they?
You can stop an off ramp, but that's the difference though. The difference is Bitcoin is rules without rulers. It doesn't matter. The government can own 99% of it, and they still can't control it because. You're talking about what you're talking about is
if they own what is it, 23,000? How many Bitcoins are there?
It doesn't matter. There's only going to be a total of 21 million, and only about 19 million are there.
If you own 21 million, you can't control Bitcoin.
You can't because you don't.
If you own all 21 million,
you don't. You don't.
I'm asking if.
No, you can't control it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, and this is going to a whole conversation, but most people do not understand Bitcoin because they conflate big B with little b. There's a difference between little b and big B. One B is the network, and the other B is the actual currency that flows through the network.
I'm talking about the little b.
You can't.
I'm not talking about blockchain. I'm talking about Bitcoin.
But as long as you can't control the means in which that currency flows, you can't control it.
But if you control the currency, you can control it. You can't
control the currency.
If you own all 21 million of them,
but you can't control the network. Meaning that
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the currency.
Yeah, but you have to, in order to control it, you have to have 51% of the network to be able to control. It's literally rules without rulers. And statistically speaking, it's impossible for anyone to own 21 million, right?
And we can't create various shell companies and other ghost people to buy up other things and fund them.
Impossible. It's impossible because of also how many have been minted and also what's even lost out there. Right. So technically speaking, it'd probably only be closer to 16 to 18 million that'll ever be in existence in terms of currency. Now, the thing about it is because it's able to be broken down to a fraction known as a Satoshi, having a full Bitcoin.
Explain to people what a Satoshi is.
Every Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? So
1/100 million. Yeah,
it takes 100 million Satoshis to equal one Bitcoin. But and again, I'm not trying to get into this.
It's too late. You've already hijacked the conversation, Jim.
No. But I'm just saying, from a technological standpoint, you can't. It's rules without rules. It's rules without rules. So that's what I mean by the truest form of ownership because it's censorship resistant. And in terms of looking at land still can be seized from you, whether that's through public domain, escheat, eminent domain, taxation, right? Those are public forms against land. So I can
and Bitcoin can be seized from you too. They just said, I'm just telling you the data. Romania just seized, 16 Bitcoin from Andrew Tate. They took his shit.
Yeah, that's because he didn't protect it, right?
I don't know, but at the end of the day,
let's talk about
it was taken.
No, again, but there's safeguards against that, right? If I own a bar of gold, right? Unless you know exactly where my bar of gold is, you can't take my bar of gold, right? Now, if you know where my bar of gold is, you can take it. But the thing about Bitcoin is I can literally store my value in my head. If I memorize my actual private keys, and no one knows but keys, but it's in my head, good luck getting it.
And after they beat the shit out of you for a while, you're going to forget the key and you're never going to be able to get it anyway. So what's the point?
That's possible, but it's all.
Hold on, man. You know we can do this forever.
Yes, we can, because I got ways to hide the keys all over.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Go.
Hey, Rich, I'm blaming you, man. You started all this. You was being an instigator.
Shout out to my man, Rich, man. Rich, go stack some sats, Rich.
All right, budgeting is key. I agree. Pascal H. Welcome. All right, Don Johnson says one of the least talked about aspects of building Black wealth through the community is career capital. I agree. Your ability to actively earn income is a force multiplier. Shout out for Don for throwing that out there, right? Because
yeah, man,
we don't talk enough about not just the income part, but multiplier effect. It's an economic term, multiplier effect. We need to understand what a multiplier effect is. Again, bring it back to my mom, right? My mom always wanted me to keep every Jet and Ebony magazine, and she might be right after this, right? But she's like, they're gonna be worth something one day. They're gonna be worth something one day. And I'm like, Mom, they're not gonna be worth anything. She could be right, but the beauty of the week is still the beauty of the week, so there could be some value there. But multiplier effect, everybody look up multiplier effect and begin to study economics more. I think that's a cheat code waiting to be unlocked. Really. All right, Facebook user. All right, I've been watching a bunch of Pocket Watching with JT, and he speaks a lot of the nuance of tonight's conversation. Yes, so JT's the homie. I actually get in trouble for JT being my homie. Like, what's crazy is JT's my homie, and people get mad at me because he does joints. They get in my inbox, tell JT don't talk about that person. Like, since when do I have rule over what JT does content about? But whatever. But yes, he's right. JT's a tax person. He's a CFP. He and I have very similar backgrounds, and we talk semi-often. All right. Emma Couture, if they're wearing Nikes, they can save. Good conversation. But everybody doesn't have Nikes. I know that's what's coming next. Eunice says, I'm going to say this when some Black women that live in government housing get their nails done and getting weaved up, they have $5 to put to the side per month. Eunice is keeping it real. Oh man, JT Coins, thank you for that 99-cent super chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Facts, most of it is food, spent on food or housing. Poor are poor because they don't have it to invest. I don't know. Eunice's point is a real point. Everybody isn't destitute, but there are also a lot of people who are destitute that are living in some very bad situations. So, clothing, some of it. All right, so Emma says, that's true. Reason mine won't live with me. All right, Eunice says, people buy what's important to them. People buy hair, nail, food, fast food. Where are they getting that money from? Why can't they start saving at least that money? Why keep digging yourself into a bigger hole?
So those people exist, the people that are talking about, but I'm talking about when you look at the people who are at the bottom. And again,
and there are a lot there.
But again, there are people that can't, like, I'm literally like, I mean,
I've acknowledged that, Jimmy. I'm not disagreeing.
No, I'm just saying, because I think that a lot of times what happens with our people are that, specifically, because first of all, if you're watching this show right now, that says a lot about who you are, right? I'm just being honest with you. The people I'm talking about aren't watching the Finance Rebel, right? But a lot of times I try to force myself to get out of my bubble because my friends and family do well, right? They just, it is what it is. Like people that I spend my time around. But because of my work, I'm in areas and locations where I see what's really going on. And it's a whole different story. They're not wearing Nikes, and they're not just out spending money. They're not flaunting money or spending money on food and clothes and hair and getting eyelash. That's not what they're doing. They're struggling to put food on the table. They're doing things like, we're not eating dinner on Tuesday and Thursday. Like, this is a reality in Philadelphia. I could speak to Philadelphia because I'm in the neighborhoods doing the work that I do. People are literally struggling. When the pandemic happened, half of our students couldn't even go to school because they didn't have internet. Kamar, you remember that? And they had to donate money and everything just to get people internet so the kids can go to school. Like, this is a reality. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that don't waste money. That's not what I'm saying, because there are a lot of people that do waste money. But if we're looking at the data and we're looking at the kind of income that people have and the expenses, just the cost to live, landlords are going up on rent. They don't care that you're operating in a deficit because guess what? Their expenses went up, their taxes went up, their insurance went up. So and this is why I asked a question about that breaking point, because there are a number of folks who just aren't able to make ends meet, right? And I think a lot of times that we get stuck in our bubbles and we don't see what's really going on, which is why me and Kamari had the conversation. I was like, let's look at some data, because what we're seeing happening in our circles, in our bubble, isn't this. The conversations I have on a day-to-day basis are people actually in the market trading options and buying stocks and buying real estate.
Facts.
That's a small number of folks in the grand scheme of things. The data shows that most Black folks don't even invest in the stock market. We just talked about that. So that's all I was bringing up. It's just like, let's look at data. Let's look at what's really going on versus being caught in our bubbles. Because if you're watching the Finance Rebel show, I already know what you're about.
All right, but let's reset the room real quick, right? Tonight's topic, surviving the financial struggle. I look at average American income and expenses, right? And in particular, what's going on with Black folks. Because as we talked about earlier, when America gets a cold, Black people get the flu or C-19. So here's a couple more comments, right? So, Rich, I want to say something. You ain't shit for saying this, bro.
Shout out to my guy, Rich, man.
You're about to start springing at the air again. If y'all don't know that scene, y'all ain't Black. But basically what it's referring to.
Oh, what you just say, Joe Biden? You said they don't know that scene, they what?
They don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, I thought you said they ain't Black. I'm about to say, damn.
No. Did I say that? I might have said that too. But he's talking about a scene from Boys in the Hood. When Trey got jacked up by the cops and then he went to Nia Long's house. I can't even remember what her character was. And just started fighting in the air.
Was it name Brandy? I think
it was Brandy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to John Singleton, by the way.
Hey, listen, man, you know, he got what he wanted. He got to make sweet, passionate love. So, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I wonder if that was all ploy, though.
Yeah, he was.
The throwing in the air.
Hey, listen, man, you know.
All right, Jigga 1017 says Jim is the discipline of setting aside $5 a week for savings, Bitcoin or Apple for someone, $1,200 in the whole, frivolous, or what a discipline, game plan, and goals help establish financial psychology.
Good question, right? And I understand what you're trying to ask, but I just feel like when you're in survival mode and you can barely eat, that it's hard to even think about investing for the future. Like, what do I care about? And that's another thing too, right? We start talking about the mentality of some of these folks, right? And again, from my experience, people don't think they're going to live that long anyway. They're like, what do I care about investing in Apple for the future? I'm trying to survive their day. I'm not going to be here in 10 years. And that's the mentality of a lot of people. They can't think about the future. They're trying to survive today. But I do understand your point, right? Like, you know, trying to build that discipline, because everything goes back to discipline. So I do understand what you're saying, but also, you know, put yourself in the shoes of someone who has kids and they're trying to eat.
Yeah. And I agree. But I would also say that sometimes the most brilliant things you can do are very counterintuitive.
And then I wake up today and I'm reading a story about they're trying to take away school lunches.
School lunch, yeah, which is crazy to me because
I'm like,
if
they do that,
it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild.
Bro, we did our camp one time in Germantown on Wayne Avenue, and when we were doing it in person, and there was a family that used to bring their kids to the camp every weekend just so they could eat. And the kid told me that's the only time they eat is when they come to our camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you talk about that, it's like, yo, we're working here Saturday and Sunday. So you mean that you
what are y'all doing for the rest of the week?
They don't eat, they scramble. Like this is a reality. This is in Philly. This is on way. Like this is real.
Oh, Pascal said this. They can reject Bitcoin though.
Nah.
We're not going down to Bitcoin. Just
all right. I'm about to say.
We'll do a full Bitcoin.
We've done it
another day.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
He missed that, y'all. I got that in over.
It's all good. Listen, man.
Jose's in the building. What's up, Jose?
Jose Sanchez, the sartorial guy. What's up, Jose?
No, he got his whole joint out here. Jimmy, what's your thoughts on Ledger having cracks to retrieve your key?
I don't believe in using Ledger at all. Any sort of cold wallet that also allows you to put shit coins on it, I don't want anything to do with it.
All right, Jimmy, back up. cold wallet, hot wallet? Give it to them.
All right, so a hot wallet is a wallet that is connected to the internet. So you can get a hot wallet just by going to, going to Trust or MetaMask or Blue Wallet. It's connected to the internet. A cold wallet, cold storage is a better form of storage where it's not connected to the internet. Both give you your private keys. That's the first thing. Statistically speaking, most people leave their stuff on exchanges, which is the absolute worst thing you could do, which is why you have people that get their stuff confiscated because they leave it on an exchange, which is, it's the equivalent of buying a stock and, you just leave it with your brokerage and your brokerage gets attacked and someone could take your money from your brokerage. It's the same thing. So you want to take full control of and custody of your crypto. And I don't even want to say crypto because I put crypto over here and I put Bitcoin here. Bitcoin isn't crypto and crypto isn't Bitcoin. They're two different things. So for me, I don't use a ledger anyway. I use things such as Cold Card, which is Bitcoin only and has certain levels of security that aren't on the ledger. So that's my perspective. I wouldn't use ledger anyway because if you're using ledger, the only reason is because you're buying shit coins. So,
And so I don't hate Bitcoin. I don't think me and Jimmy could even be friends if I actually hated Bitcoin. As y'all see, he goes hard about the coin.
Well, I mean, I go hard because it comes from hours and hours and hours of study, which is why, you start in the space of crypto. You start with someone who buys crypto. And then you get to the point where you continuously study and learn. You realize that all roads lead to Bitcoin, which is why I keep them separate. And, I literally studied this before we came on today. I was reading, like I studied this every day and have been since 2016. So I spent a lot of time and hours. I put my 10,000 hours in. Let's put it that way.
Facts. All right, let's see. Emma says truth. Oh, snap. Like that button. Listen, like the like button. We fighting the algos, y'all. All right, Diamond Dave says facts. I'm from a city of thousands of unskilled service workers. Many of them are living in weeklies and working at the theme parks.
That's crazy.
That's a fact. Thanks for Dave bringing that up. I mean, because again, there are a lot of people who are jammed up. I mean, Philadelphia is very similar to that, right? We have a lot of unskilled service workers. We don't have theme parks. But when you talk about living in weeklies, rooming homes, that's what we have. A lot of times that is a thing as well. The state of Black America is bleak. It's bleak.
And I had someone tell me today that, man, there's a lot of indentured servitude going on in Philadelphia. I said, what? What year is this? They talking about, no, today in 2023.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Our unit says, I know people have family members that not doing well financially. I am not a very compassionate person. They have to increase their income. But I will say this, Eunice, I think you are a compassionate person. But
she says, I'm a very, I don't know where I'm from.
I read it too fast. So she's a very compassionate person. They have to increase their income. Yes. Because I was about to say, you are compassionate. All right. Emma's laughing at us. It's good that you guys are doing to try to get free resources to help financial literacy, but it's good that you guys are going to try to give free resources to help with financial literacy, but they have to accept it. It is a mindset. I agree with that.
Yeah. Let me say one thing too, though. Our camp starts in July 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, 5 weeks.
Say that again, Jimmy.
So July 1st, July 8th, July 15th, 22nd, and 29th, 5 weeks. We're doing a free camp online for kids ages 5 and up. It's completely free. We're going to teach them about, budgeting. We're going to teach them about real estate. We're going to teach them about, what is money. It's a financial literacy camp for kids ages 5 and up. You can go to buythehoodcamp.com to get more information. When you go there, you can just register. Don't pay attention to the date because we didn't update our dates yet because we just got our dates. We're going to do it 5 Saturdays in July. But it's buythehoodcamp.com and it's completely free. So you can share that resource as well. This will be our 9th year doing this. We've done it free. We've done it in person. We've done it online since the pandemic, but it's completely free. Kids ages 5 and up. And some of our kids that come through the camp every year are very sharp. And, and folks can attest to that. Jose actually worked with us last year and helped us. And I'm hoping he comes back. We got kids 6, 7 years old that can break down an income statement, that can show you how to buy a property, like really get to it. So buythehoodcamp.com is completely free. Just want to put that out there.
Always. All right, Don Johnson says, I'm about to clock in a job where I make 50K. And if this was a major source of income, it would be hard for me to survive.
Yeah, Don talks about that, how he has a second job that pays him 50K.
Right.
And, you know, Don balling, his second gig give him 50K. So, Don, think about this, right? Again, these are the people that watch the Finance Rebel show. Your second job is more than the median income of a black family. That's your second job.
So what does that say now?
It says that for me, I know I'm privileged, right? But I'm also standing on the shoulders of those that came before me. I have family that made sacrifices to put me in a position to achieve what I have. To me, it just means there's more work to do, right? But I also feel like a lot of times we look at ourselves and our immediate family and we stop there. I think we need to operate with a village mindset, because when I look at myself personally, and Andonka probably has the same story, so many people poured into me to help me get to the point I am, which is why we do things like the camp and why we spend time in the community, because it's not about just you and your immediate family. We have to really operate with a village mindset, right? Sometimes we get caught up in this whole thing with the wealth gap of trying to catch folks. And for me, I'm not even trying to catch folks. I don't care what they're doing over there. I'm trying to have a better quality of life for our people, right? And to me, that is what's missing, is that village mindset. A lot of us, to be honest with you, bro, a lot of us are selfish. And I've had people tell me that, like, I'm doing cool, like, you know, but power comes when we're actually unified. If the powers that be come after you and try to take what you take, what kind of village do you have? I can lose everything that I have tomorrow in terms of finances. I can lose all my stocks, all my buildings, all my Bitcoin, Kamari, to make you happy. But the fact is, I could also pick up the phone and say, yo, Kamari, I need a place to stay. I need a couple of dollars. And I know that Kamari will take care of me. I can make a call to court. I got a number of folks that I can go to. That's true wealth, because that's my village. And I think that's what we need to really focus our energy on, is really, like, you know, getting out of our bubbles and trying to, like, lift everybody up, man. It's about the collective and not just us individually.
So Jimmy knows I'm all about that village mindset life. So we should do a show about that as well.
Absolutely.
We probably going to have a bunch of crossover shows coming up real soon, y'all.
Yeah, let's get to it.
It was funny. I was putting out some clips from the YouTube, and I'm looking, like, every other clip is Jimmy. Jimmy. It's crazy. But just to show y'all that we're not bullshitting about the Republicans or politicians in general wanting to cut school lunch, here it is.
That is insane to me, bro. You know how many kids this is where their only source of meals come from, bro?
That's insanity. But this is real. And so, right, you know, y'all hear me and Jimmy go back and forth, and y'all think we arguing, but we really aren't, right? Because the things that really matter, the core, we're united on, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so when we talk about food and shelter, and then we talk about our disappointment in social media and all the quote unquote bling bling scammer culture, we're disappointed in it because it's really taking focus away from the real problem.
Exactly.
And the real problem is us as a whole being able to survive and thrive as a people. Nobody really gives a shit if I'm driving a Toyota or a Nissan and Jimmy's driving a Toyota or Nissan, right? How is that little baby going to get books? How is that little baby going to get lunch? How is that baby going to get clothes at the end of the day?
They call it, folks be like, I'm pro-life, but I want to take away their ability to eat. Like, right. It's just mind-boggling to me.
But, you know, when we talk about the black wealth, we're talking about the black wealth movement. We never, if we're talking about this, really talking about, we're not talking about the real things. Everything is about getting the bag or running the play.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's kind of sickening. And me and Jimmy talked about this a little bit last night. I know he feels like this. I feel like this to a certain degree. At some point, it's like, what's the point of even doing all this? Because in many ways, it's a distraction. So, you know, some days we'll be like, what's the point of broadcasting? Let's go give out some food to the homeless, right? Like, that's the thought. You know, what's the point of doing all this? Because a lot of people really aren't getting this. And everybody's so up in arms about running these plays where they don't realize they're actually destroying themselves. Look at the PPP scams and the IDOR, EIDL loan scams that everybody got up for. It's like, y'all didn't even use it for nothing meaningful. Y'all worrying about getting $500,000 in credit. Y'all don't have a business. So you're willing to take on more debt because you're chasing this dream and fantasy. Oh, I thought you were about to say something to me.
No, I agree with everything you said, bro. Like it's like, what are we doing it for, man? Like it's about the collective, and that's the way I move.
Yeah. All right. So stock a day keeps the poverty away. Until it doesn't, Apple's not always going to be on top. History tells us that. Yeah, it's very sad.
You ever go back to the origin of the S&P 500 and go like years and years and look and see the companies that were there and no longer there? That's a very interesting thing to do.
Well, if you really want to do it, go back to the Dow, the creation of the Dow, which predates the S&P.
That's even crazier because that goes back further.
Yeah. LOL Cold Wallets allowing poop coins. Our work is hilarious as hell. Listen, Jimmy, I need you to get anti-shitcoin t-shirts or something like that. We got to do something around that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Our unit says they're really sad. I really hope that those who are in those kinds of situations can get into a different mindset. My family and I were at work in progress with our financials. I'm not looking down. Yeah, I agree. All right, Emma says interesting points. I'll definitely be back. The children inspire and motivate me. All right.
Appreciate that, Jose.
Jose's in the building.
Thank you, bro.
JT Corn says this is a great discussion. Thanks for having it on your platform. All right, well, share it out with some other people so they can see the discussion too. And I know you do, bro. All right, Eunice says awesome information. All right, Lawrence. But Kamari can't help you if he wasn't working on improving himself. We are the village, both the individual and the group. We are also as strong as our weakest link. That's true, Lawrence.
I agree. I mean, listen.
I give you the orange for that. That is a fact.
It's the airplane joint. I put the thing on yourself first, right?
Right.
But Lawrence, my point was some of us stopped there, and I've had people actually tell me I'm cool, and that's where it gets to be like, you know, the selfish. We definitely have to work on ourselves. I mean, we all are work in progress, but it can't stop there. That's all I'm saying.
Right, because I mean, again, to Lawrence's point, he's 1,000% correct.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the one thing. It's like when people get out, they don't ever look back.
Not at all.
And again, it's a very nuanced. It's a very, very nuanced thing. All right, Don says, for me, it makes me realize just how hard it is out here for people.
Yeah, facts. Man. Keep that perspective, man. Keep that perspective.
All right, Pascal says this country is literally going back to where it was 100 years ago. Rich and working class, no middle class.
Yeah, I think Rich said that earlier too. Rich was like, "Yo, what do you say we going back to the
peasants and lords or peasants?"
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Listen, I thought about that when I was looking at flight prices. I was like, yo, because if you studied aviation, you look back in the day, like only a certain class of people were able to fly. And that kind of changed over the years. And I start thinking, I'm looking at these prices. I was like, yo, average person can't get a flight nowhere no more. Are we going backwards? Like, are we literally going backwards?
All right, so we've been rocking for almost 2.5 hours, and I didn't answer the questions yet. So let's get to them.
Yeah, let's get to the questions.
All right, Jigga 1017. Jigga, by the way, I asked you, where are you from, brother? Where are you hailing, or sister? Where are you hailing from? All right, what's your thoughts on Dave Ramsey's theory of paying cash for cars while setting aside a car note and 10% index to level up on another cash car every 3 to 5 years? So I'm going to say this. Jigga, don't take no offense to this. We don't need to cite Dave or any vanilla paper looking like people anymore. That's enough of us who have come up with strategies and theories of our own.
You said no napkin Americans?
No napkin, nothing. Because we got brown napkins now, so we can always make choices. But here's the thing. Paying cash for cars is not a Dave Ramsey thing. And not to get off on Dave, I know he's made it popular, but it's not a Dave Ramsey thing. Yes, I believe in paying cash for a car if you can, right? And yeah, it's cool to set aside money in a car note in a 10% index fund. However, I'm going to say this. We need to learn asset allocation. And so a lot of people don't have savings, don't have cash. And so if you put that 10% into the stock market and you don't have any cash, it could put you in a very precarious position when you need the money because the market does what? It goes up, it goes down, it booms and it busts. So let's say you don't have a savings and the market goes bust, then you're fucked. Excuse my language.
So I
But
just want to add, the first thing that I would say is figure out whether that one of those that index fund, whether he's getting the cut of it, because he's good for that. He's good for that.
that's a fact.
Figure out what
But,
some expense ratios are and whether he's getting the cut.
yeah, that's a fact. But I'll say this, right? So again, personal finance is personal. I don't have a problem with paying cash for a car. I don't have a problem with putting 10% of the note aside, right? It might need to go in cash. It could go into an index fund. That's fine. But make sure you do it based upon what works for your financial situation right now.
Yeah, and I think my overall answer to that question though is what Kamari said.
Oh, and one last thing. Sorry, Jimmy.
Go ahead.
You don't necessarily have to buy a car every 3 to 5 years, right? We just illustrated. We talked about it tonight.
Get you one of them cars with 500,000. A couple people in the chat said they got 400,
Yeah,
300,
300, 400,000 miles. If you really want to get to it. Now, if you like having a car every couple of years, that's a different story.
I think that the answer to the question is that what you said though, personal finance is personal. So the answer to that question will be different depending upon who you're speaking to. But just be careful that you ain't getting the cut of that index fund.
All right, Starlight Bright asked, what are your views about HSAs? I think HSAs are actually very powerful, health savings accounts. Usually you can put money in there pre-tax. They get to get out of your check.
Mm-hmm.
You can invest the money. You can have it pay for various medical procedures. And with the HSA, you can port it over, but you can roll money in and out of it from other like traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. So I think the HSA can be very, very powerful. And it's something we all need to look into and use more, in my opinion.
I think
here's the thing. Healthcare is only going to go up. So one of the biggest creators of bankruptcy is usually healthcare bills.
Yeah.
So the more money we have set aside, the more protected we are. Go ahead, Jim.
I think it's a powerful tool and one of the most underutilized tools. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of like the FIRE movement. I could, shout out to all my Coast Fire people. I'm a huge
FIRE. Tell people what FIRE is.
A financially independent, retire early. Although I've recently figured out there's different variations of that, right? So I like the Coast Fire where you just get to the point where you're coasting, but you don't have to necessarily retire early. But one of the things about looking at people who are in the FIRE movement is the various ways they use HSAs. It always amazes me because I always thought that it's something that you just use for health expenses. But like Kamari said, it's pre-tax, and people have found all sorts of fly ways to use those accounts to build wealth. So I think it's something that we should definitely be studying more and figuring out the various ways to use it. Because again, all these things are just like tools in the toolbox, right? We got to figure out how to use it, but I think it's underutilized, to be honest with you. So if you have access to one, that's dope, because everybody don't have access to one.
Facts. Anthony, about that wallet, as would you lease or buy? Would I lease or would buy?
Like you should.
Say it again, Jimmy.
So we don't lease, you buy the whole car, as you should.
Say about a Jigga Man, but I think that was trash advice from Jigga Man.
I mean, Big Pun got the lease bar. What do you say about leasing a car? Anyway,
I forget. But, and I only said it was trash because Jimmy thinks I'm the biggest Jay-Z stan there is. He feels I can't be objective, but I just said that was trash. But it was a lyric and it rhymed and it was cute. So,
even after you say it's trash, you got to come and like make you cop a plea for it. But go ahead though. No, go ahead. Answer your brother's question.
So it depends. Again, personal finance is personal. What works for you? Do you like to buy cars every year, every couple of years? You asked me what I lease. I'm thinking about it, but I probably won't do it. I'm thinking about it for a couple of reasons. I've never had a brand new car, and it's something I would like to do. But
You ain't trying to get a G-Wagon and run the play?
nah. But I got other things to do. I got babies. I got babies going to college. I got grandbabies. So where are my priorities going to lie?
So I think that depends upon the individual and the situation, right? Because
right, but he asked me. That's why I went that
no,
route.
okay,
Yeah.
no, I got you. Because I'm saying when you talk about buy a car, you talking about buying a $20,000 car. You talking about buying a $5,000 car, right? So there's so many variables to answer that question.
But I know Anthony, so he's not buying a $5,000 car.
Okay.
Yeah, but for everybody, just speaking to the masses, right? It depends what your situation is. Jimmy was saying, some of us should be buying $5,000 cars, all cash, right? Some of us might need to buy a $20,000 car. We might be buying it for a spouse. They might be driving long distances. You want it to be safe, secure, stable, and you don't want to have to deal with any extra maintenance issues. So again, personal finance is personal. So, it depends. It depends. But there's nothing wrong with a lease. There's nothing wrong with buying. You have to do what's best for you. I know a lot of folks in our community, Black community, think that it's something wrong with leasing. It's not. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about depreciating assets. And so we had to figure out how to not spend so much on those depreciating assets and then work from there.
That's right.
Is that the same question, Jigga? You asked it a different way? Yeah, you asked it a different way. Okay. Right, and JT gave the super chat. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. All right, so there's a couple more questions. Clear people. Are T-bills a good way to fight inflation? So I'm going to answer your question technically first, and then we'll come back and give you my thoughts on it. No, T-bills typically are not a great way to fight inflation. Bonds typically do not keep pace with inflation well. Stocks typically keep pace with inflation a lot better. However, bonds are a very key point in your overall asset allocation. And the better you understand asset allocation, the better your portfolio will do. And when I say asset allocation, it's the mix of what assets you have. Like Jimmy said earlier, cash is a position. Cash is a position in asset allocation. So you have cash, which is the most secure. You have bonds, which is the next secure because it's backed by the U.S. government. Then you have things like municipal bonds and corporate bonds and things like that are kind of secure, but start to get risky, right? And then you have stocks. Think of a pyramid, and each layer of that starts from the foundation all the way up to the top. And at the top of that pyramid are the things that are typically the most risky. Your commodities, your Forex, your crypto, things like that. In the middle is usually stocks. So when you think about your asset allocation and what's safe, what's not safe, you got to think about what you need and where you're trying to go and what your goals and what your visions are. And then if you can think about that and put them into context, each one of these assets has its own behavior. And as you know what those behaviors are, you can arrange your finances to kind of match those things to make sure that you're good and you're safe. But spend more time learning and developing asset allocation. What you got, Jimmy?
No, I was going to say T-bills can be a powerful tool. I personally use T-bills. I use a T-bill ladder in my various investment accounts and even some of my trading accounts for my dry powder. So like when I have cash and I'm just sitting to the side and I'm waiting for something to happen or another, I would create like a T-bill ladder, whether it's a 1 month or 3 month and a 6 month. So that way, as the money is sitting there, it's collecting more interest than if it was just sitting in the account. So they can be a good way, but it's just to take it by itself, right? And by the way, this is not investment advice. I'm not your fiduciary.
Entertainment.
That's right. I'm not your fiduciary. I'm just talking about what I personally do with T-bills. So T-bills can be used as a way to just make a little bit more money as you just have it sitting there. So if you have a brokerage account or something, you just got cash you're sitting to the side, a T-bill is always an excellent way to make a little bit more return on your money. Yeah, that's what I say about T-bills.
And so I want to talk about this because Emma, I don't know if you follow me or not, because I just talked about T-bills on my Instagram not too long ago. And it was funny. Our good friend Malik was like, I don't even know what to do with that. And I just thought it was funny. But again, going back to what Jimmy was saying, right? It's a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if everybody can see this. Let me blow this up. And I haven't looked at what T-bills are going for right now. Let's see, can I get that a little bit bigger? All right, the debt selling talks are creating an investing opportunity in T-bills. If you have been stacking your cash, this is a great place to move some of it. Opportunities favor the prepared. So, right, what Jimmy was talking about is exactly what I'm talking about in this post, because T-bills were at 5.3% for the 3 month.
That's
And
great.
at the 6 month, it was at 5.41%. Right. So these are all short term bills. You can buy them in your brokerage account, like Jimmy said. I believe you can also buy them directly on Treasury Direct as well. But if you have a brokerage account, you can buy them there. And I believe you can buy them in denominations of $1,000, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, that's the minimum. Well, I know that I buy mine in TD Ameritrade and Vanguard. The minimum is 1,000.
Got you. And so a lot of times y'all hear me talk about how much money you should have in cash. And I like to give more simplistic answers because when we're online, a lot of times things get confusing. So I tell people I don't believe in just having 3 to 6 months savings, 3 to 6 months expenses and savings. I believe we should strive to get a year's worth of income and savings. And then people say, well, then what are you doing? But I don't go into all the other stuff like Jimmy was just talking about, because we can't even get past the overall income and savings part. And so I don't want to go too deep into it and then be convoluted. But if you could have a year's worth of income in your account, how free would you feel after that? And my rationale for that, people always say, Kamari, that's crazy. But then COVID hit. But that I came up with that because when I was a financial advisor, everybody would say 3 to 6 months. And I'm like, when you look at the data that Jimmy loves, right? It takes a person usually 9 months on average to get a new job. And so typically people don't like changing their lifestyles. And so if you have your income there, you typically can kind of be good. Hopefully you'll be conservative in terms of what you're spending if you're out of work, but you won't typically have to change your lifestyle up too much while you have to ride the pond and wait it out and find a new job. And then COVID hit. And they was like, Dan Kamara, you were right. Because again, you're just prepared there. But if you have a year's worth of money set aside, don't even think of it as cash. It's opportunity set aside. You can do T-bills, you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things. A lot of times we get really, really linear when it comes to money. And we should be in a certain regard. But in the other regard, we have to use our full creativity as well and understand how each one of these products works. For the record, financial products ain't shit. The thing that really matters is your strategy, and your product should align with your strategy. So you see people talking about, oh, I'm going to get an IUL. Well, just saying that on its own really doesn't mean anything. Or I'm going to go get some whole life, or I'm going to go get some T-bills, or I'm going to get I-bonds. What's your overall strategy, and how do those financial products fit into it? And so that's why I always say that the products don't mean nothing. The strategy does, but you got to understand the products and how they fit into the strategy. So, anything else to add to that, Jimmy?
I think Pascal had a question about the ladder. So the ladder approach, yeah, 1102. The ladder approach is where, so I'll do like a 1, 3, 6 month T-bill. And what'll happen is after that first month, I'll then get another month T-bill, right? So then when that one comes up, the 3 months will be getting ready to come up. And what'll happen is over time, or you can just, you can even just use multiple 1 month T-bills. But over time, what will happen is your money will be getting freed every month. If you buy a couple different T-bills, the idea is to set up a ladder where every month you have money becoming liquid again. Because the thing about a T-bill is locking your money up for either 30 days, 60 days, and you can go far out. You were talking about a 5-year T-bill. You can go way far out with it. But it's locking your money up, so you can't have access to that money without like paying a fee for getting out of it. But when you have a ladder, what will happen is, after the first month, one will come up, and then that's liquid. So that way, if you have to make a move with the money, you always have liquid money coming once a month. That's the way to set it up as a ladder. And that's why I do what I call my dry powder, which is money that I'm going to invest, because I know I'm always going to have money becoming free. But as I'm sitting on the cash, it's still going to get me 4 or 5%.
And another way to think about it too is people do ladders based upon what projects or what life events they might have coming up.
That too.
And so
you could also do it with CDs too. You could do a CD.
Yeah, yeah. The CD ladders, a lot of people do it with that. My daughter's going to college in a couple months. I got a big tuition bill coming. Let's say I'm sitting on 10 grand right now. It's not doing anything. I could throw it in some T-bills, and then when it's time for her to go to school, it'll come out, it'll come due. That money just didn't sit there and be idle. That money was working. So the key is to keep your money working, but understand the risk that you're taking and make sure that that risk is appropriate for what you got going on in your overall life.
Yeah. Lynette with a great point too. T-bills are also only taxed at the federal level.
Okay, Lynette coming through with the tax. You definitely get the horns for that.
Yeah, Kamari saw the word tax and woke right up.
Yes. One of our biggest expenses, tax. All right. So we're going to get ready to get out of here.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jig is from Detroit.
That's Jamil. Jamil, what up, though?
All right, Motown. Great questions. Thank you for being here. I know you drop in from time to time, sir. All right. Couple more questions and we gone, folks.
Yes, sir.
I ain't had my vittles. Jimmy, you had your vittles?
No. I know it's like 11 o'clock. So,
Yeah, we went late tonight.
Hey, listen, it is what it is, man. Like, you know how it is. And me and Kamar, we get a break in the conversation, man. Like,
well, it's funny, right? You always talk about how our 2-minute conversations always wind up.
I know. I'll be calling Kamar.
Conversations.
Let me ask you a quick question. And next thing I know, 2 hours done passed.
Right. So it's better. Might as well get these on video and recorded, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll look for that video. All right, Aaron says, great content, constructive, honest discussion on Black wealth from people actually doing real business daily. Yes. Indeed. Thank you for that, sir.
Appreciate that.
All right. Oh, by the way, Lynette, are you in a text count? Yes, I have. All right. Emma says, yes, I have M1 and TD.
Okay, nice. I've done it with TD, but I haven't done it with M1, to be honest. I have an M1 account, but I've only bought the T-bills with TD. TD and Vanguard are where I usually buy it.
Okay. Sincere, how are you? Welcome. All right. Is it legal to store money overseas in a Swiss bank account? Yes, it's legal, but you have to declare it. So then you have to ask yourself, what's the point?
Define legal. No, I'm joking. No, hashtag no run to play. I'm joking.
Oh, man, real good. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good question. Listen, everything we talking about on this show is legal. Absolutely. I ain't going to jail, and I'm not wearing federally issued armed suits for none of yous. Just remember that.
Never lie.
Because guess what? Then that's harming my family. That's harming the community. That's harming me. I ain't got time for none of that. So any closing words, Jimmy?
No, man, I just want to say in closing, man, thank you for, building with me this evening, man. You know what I mean? And to everybody out there watching, man, love each other, man, because Black love is real Black wealth. So, Kamari's line is what make wealth black again. At By the Hill, we say, Black love is Black wealth. So I'll leave y'all with that, man. Black love.
Facts. So listen, if y'all enjoyed tonight and you want to see me and Jimmy rock more, throw that in the comments. Let us know how you felt about tonight. And do me a favor, share, like, and subscribe to the Finance Roll channel on YouTube. Remember, Keep dreaming, y'all. Dreams are important. Dreams are the fuel that keeps everything going. And after you get those dreams, start working on those dreams. And then guess what? Make some money, save some more, and then invest, and then save some more, and then dream a little bit more too. But until the next time, y'all, I appreciate everyone being here. I'm Kamari Ellis. I will be back next Wednesday, if not sooner. But thank you for watching the Financial Rebel Show. Until the next time, y'all be great.